suffering an extreme overdose of scented lotion. With a blood lotion level of 0.45, hospital sources confirmed that Nagler had rubbed onto her body 4 times the lethal limit of shea butter, green tea cleanses, and naturally soothing mineral therapies.
Even putting aside the sheer level of lotion Miss Nagler had on her person when she arrived at the ER, this was an especially lethal combination she was using. She was mixing scented moisturizers, age-defying serums, and even some harder stuff like jojoba and essential fruit extracts. Frankly, she's lucky to be alive.
In other news, Beijing's air solidifies. A Delta Airlines counteragent assures a man he will never see his family again. And a mannequin must think he's some pretty hot shit. They say if you love something, let it go. But how could we possibly leave you behind after being blessed with a relationship as unique and complex as this one? For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the number to call to take control of the airwaves, to tell us what's on your mind. Because this is Open Phones Radio, where you can bring up any topic you like. And we'll talk about it. We may not talk about it for long, but we will talk about it. In studio, it's myself, Chris.
Stu.
And Bonnie.
And, you know, here we are. I was thinking about this on my way in tonight, that, you know, we're not quite there. I mean, tomorrow is truly going to be the cusp. The most decisive change in America, in the history of America.
Isn't it Monday?
I'm saying tomorrow will be on the cusp.
Oh, okay.
So we're on the cusp of the cusp.
Cusp of the cusp.
Of the most decisive day in American history. I mean, like, I can't even wrap my head around all the change that's going to occur on Monday.
Well, you know, a jealous Cancer would say they're on the cusp of being a Gemini at like 14 days away.
That's right. That uses the term cusp a lot. But we're on the cusp weekend of the most decisive change in American history. That's what he said. I mean, this is going to be everything new, everything we hated about Washington, D.C., the fact that they are so involved in our daily lives and there's nothing that's not regulated, there's nothing that's not taxed, and there's not a single right they don't want to take away. That all changes on Monday. Decisively.
Sounds like a word that sounds like a lot that doesn't necessarily have to mean anything specific.
Well, I mean, we've never had a Department of Government Efficiency before, DOGE. That's never existed in the history of the United States. Mm-hmm. It hasn't.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know for sure that I believe that it will do anything. I would like it to. Okay, well, this is a Wall Street Journal headline. Trump set to start slashing regulations across government in a bonfire of red tape. I mean, listen to that. I mean, slashing regulations in a bonfire. I mean, that's we've never... Not the same ring as a chainsaw. He's trying.
I know.
Is there actual red tape and they're actually going to make a bonfire out of it?
That would be good.
Sounds like bad fumes.
I think red tape is really hard to find. I mean, it's there. It's insidious. I mean, we know that red tape is there. I think the only solution is to burn it all down, like all of government.
The whole Hobby Lobby.
And all of it, even the arts and crafts section. And then maybe you'll get all of it. But I don't know. I mean, on the right, that's what they're saying. This is the dawn of a new age, and the left is saying this is the end of democracy as we know it.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you, I'm not a big fan of Reason, but they occasionally do like really funny videos, and they just had these. The parody was Fox News versus MSNBC in their Inauguration Day coverage, and I encourage everyone to look at that. It is hysterical.
And no one watches MSNBC anymore, so.
People on the left do, I guess. Do they?
Well, I mean, all their numbers have been going down for a long time, but I guess CNN is like the worst.
CNN's even lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fox has been trashing all of them for a decade.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, it's been longer than that.
They at least try things that will appeal to like younger people, like their Red Eye show. A lot of conservatives and even libertarians liked, and I don't know. Then they fired Glenn Beck. That was a bad idea.
Right, and they had Kennedy for. Is Kennedy still on? Or on Fox Business?
RFK?
No, Kennedy, as in the old MTV VJ, who's very libertarian.
I don't remember that person. I haven't watched in a really long time. Any Fox News?
Follow her on X. She's
it's a lady named Kennedy. Like, first name is Kennedy?
First and last name are Kennedy. She goes by one name.
I was going to say, is it literally Kennedy?
It's just Kennedy, I guess.
Wonder if she has the Kennedy curse, where if you date her, you die in an airplane, or...
That's a good question. I don't know. I always found her kind of interesting. We're going to go to the phones right away, where we've got Turd Ferguson. Turd, you're on Free Talk Live.
Kennedy's last name is Montgomery, and technically her first name is Lisa. And interesting fact for you.
Her stage name then is Kennedy.
Yeah, so Kennedy's her middle name too. And yeah, she's been friends with Kurt Loder from MTV for a long time, and he's actually who converted her into a libertarian. But another fun fact, rock and roll history, really quick. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the song "Name" by the Goo Goo Dolls, which is a great song.
No.
I have.
That song is about her. She was dating Johnny Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls at the time, and he wrote that song for her. So if it wasn't for her, we would all not have the song "Name," which is an amazing song, and it would be sad if we didn't have that great addition to rock and roll music.
See, I always imagined the song "Name" was written by Paul Westerberg of The Replacements.
Well, maybe we're thinking of a different tune, but it was written.
No, I know the one you're talking about. It just has a very Replacements sound to it. But anyway, continue with your thought.
She's very plain looking.
She has a big forehead. I mean, come on. If you're a guy like me who has a thing for
you got to get
really
us off speaker, Turd. Sorry.
Really big foreheads, I'm okay with that. Yeah, see, you could show movies on that thing.
Turd, if you have us on speaker. Okay, I guess it stopped.
I shouldn't be anymore, but she was hot back in the day.
Well, but, I have a friend. I guess I won't say who on the air, but if you want to email me, Bonnie@freetalklive.com, if you make boom bap hip hop what's the word, like instrumentals, he's looking for someone to make some for him. He's actually a pretty good rapper with like a anti-cop bent. And I don't like listen to rap, but it's always entertaining to listen to his. And he said, tell him I need boom bap hip hop beats.
I would have to hear what he's talking about to really be able to replicate it, but I could probably do it, but I'm not going to do it for free. So
I don't think he wanted you to do it for free, but you can email me.
You didn't call in though to try to drum up bip bop hip hop rap.
Bip bop hip hop.
Right?
Well, actually, I was just making a beat, but it was more a trance EDM.
I told him I didn't think
very good.
You were interested in hip hop. I didn't really think.
Oh no, I've made a ton of rap beats actually over the years, and I've got a few really good ones. One I made recently that I'm getting ready to sell on BeatStars for probably $10,000. It's one of the best beats I've ever made.
You
really
sound a bit
stuff,
like Trump
really
when you said that.
The best ever made.
Yeah, I have the best beats. My beats are huge. Nobody's beats are better than mine.
But today's my 7th day without any food. I'm on a 14-day water fast, and I'm only halfway through.
Do you have a GoFundMe? That's a good idea. You do a GoFundMe, and people will send you money for food.
Or a turd.
Or a turd.
Well, I could do that. I mean, it's not that I can't afford it. I could go buy food right now if I want to.
He's just stuck in the hot tub, so he can only drink the water.
Well, actually, it's funny because the last couple nights I've gotten out of my hot tub, I felt like I was going to faint.
I
Like,
would
had
think
to sit
so.
down right away. Yeah, and so I don't want to not use it for the next week either. But I
don't
feel
go
like I
all
should be
Matthew
careful
Perry
with that.
on us. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah, well, I question whether or not that was just he drowned in his hot tub and there wasn't something else involved there. But either way, I'm pretty hungry. I did get these shakes that you're allowed to drink on a water fast. They're called Elemental Diets. They're basically like a shake that just has like, all your vitamins and minerals in
I've
it.
heard of elemental,
And,
like the minerals you can put into water.
And honestly, who prohibits you from drinking any fluid if you're on a diet that you undertake or you're on a fast? Like I'm on a fast too, where I drink milkshakes and eat French fries. It's my rules.
That's a great fast.
It is.
I mean,
It works for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do that, but I'd probably not be very healthy after I ate that. But
What if you're making the fries at home? Maybe like even
Exactly.
olive oil, little MUFAs, better than sunflower,
I do-
soy oil.
I do on occasion cook some very fresh potato press fries, which I just go ahead and pop into the air fryer, and they can be very tasty.
With microplastics.
But right now, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are no microplastics in a potato that I'm
No,
aware
I
of.
was saying the air fryer. I've heard that like all air fryers leach microplastics into the food.
Yeah, they probably all have a Teflon coating.
Hey, you guys
Well,
are just buzzkills.
I
Well,
don't know if mine's Teflon. I'm pretty sure mine's steel, but I could be wrong.
I'm guilty of Teflon. I've heard it's literally plastic, mostly made of plastic, and so like it's slowly melting into everybody's food.
Oh, if you made a plastic air fryer, I could understand that.
But it's like, oh well, it's that's just the outside coating, but it gets really hot.
Yeah, it's the non-stick coating that they've been putting on pans forever. It's highly toxic.
Okay.
Well, I
Okay,
didn't hear it was Teflon.
Conspiracy Theory Live. Tell me again that everything that I touch is going to kill me.
I know that's
I
the
got
thing. That's
Bonnie
why I
and-
still eat Teflon or use Teflon because it's like I have stopped so much stuff, and it would take like me and went and bought a whole new thing of pans and pots when I learned about Teflon, and I was just like, I mean, like technically my mom talked about that when I was a kid, but I didn't take it seriously, and then I started hearing stuff that sounded pretty credible about it. But I was like, why like stress myself out about that? Instead of adding negative chemicals into my brain through stress, I'm adding negative chemicals through cooking, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. And
Teflon.
you can only do what you can do as well. There's environmental toxins everywhere.
Yeah, they're spraying stuff into the sky.
If you can cook with just like an iron skillet and all that stuff, I'd probably recommend that. But I'm skeptical as to really how much damage over time a Teflon pan will do to you. But
especially if it doesn't have scratches. Like if you try really hard not to scratch it, I feel like it couldn't be that bad. But I don't know.
Yeah, but you got to go back to like when I was growing up, when they first invented Teflon, and it was suddenly on every pan. Everybody was like, "This stuff's great."
It is,
and then people
It's
were
great.
sticking forks and everything into them. And like 2 weeks later, you couldn't even recognize the pan. But we all kept using them for years.
Yeah, that's when they're really bad.
We all did that, yeah.
But I've machined a few Teflon parts, like large Teflon parts, and I can tell you this stuff is pretty soft. It's almost like cold butter.
Dang, that sucks.
Well,
the other thing is like I have a cast iron pan that I try to use for more like I feel like important things. Like if I'm gonna make like a roast, I have a a cast iron pan, and that's also the lid to a pot, so it's like a Dutch oven. And so I'll use that for more what I feel like important things. But the thing is, like, if I had to make eggs in a cast iron pan every single time and deal with it sticking there and like deal with it sitting on the counter because I didn't feel like trying to spend a long time cleaning it, like then I would be annoyed. And is being annoyed more.
Stainless steel pans are fantastic for cooking eggs and everything. I really like them.
Never used one, I don't think.
Yeah, we're not, upper crust like you are, Stu.
They don't cost much more. It's worth it. Buy some.
And if I was going to go get some, maybe I'd get it at like
We buy
a
them.
secondhand store, or you could probably find some, but
Or
then they
as soon as
scratch.
you scratch your Teflon pan, then go ahead and get the stainless one. And you can buff the little scratches out if it gets like a sticky spot. You just get the number 40 steel wool and it'll polish it up nice.
Really?
Nice, nice.
Yeah, we just kept eating out of them. It didn't matter how.
One time we talked about Teflon on the show, and it was, I think, just me and Nikki, and she was saying, like, no, it's, like, one of the worst things you can do. That's, like, even if you do everything else perfect, like, you gotta do that. And I was just like, I don't want, and she was saying that she uses cast iron for everything. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, how do you cook eggs in that? Like,
yeah, cast iron has its place, but it's not for everything.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more upkeep, and I've bought a lot of cast iron stuff that all ended up collecting dust in a cabinet, and that's where they sat forever until they began to rust and stuff like that.
And it's like you don't have to wash it, but you have to really do stuff to make it not disgusting.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
if you're gonna cook steak in it 3 times a week, then it's probably worth having one around.
Yeah.
If not,
Speaking
maybe
of
not
Nikki,
someone.
when is she coming back on the show?
Oh my God, I forgot you were there. I don't know.
Didn't.
Like,
I did not forget you.
Have you ever had a baby turd?
I know she had one, and I hope I never have one, but I won't jinx it.
They take up a lot of time.
It seems like, like you wouldn't want to just leave your baby for 4 hours just to do Free Talk Live.
Yeah, but for the show, I mean, you would.
The show must go on.
Yeah, show must go on.
Well, I also got some intel recently that Angie wants to come back and do the show.
Oh, she has talked to me about it a couple times, but plans have just fallen through. I would love to have her back on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I'd like to do a show with
you
her.
should definitely do that. And as a matter of fact, I would say just do a schedule where it's like Bonnie, Angie, and Lori for like a week or two. And
That's
then
what we were
see
going to
your
do.
numbers do.
It kind of sucks because it was just like babysitter plans or something fell through, but we will continue to try.
Thanks, Turd. So,
yeah, well, I was going to say maybe Angie's mush mouth husband, who's got marbles in his mouth that he can't get out, maybe he can watch the kids while she comes and does the show. You know what I mean?
They have jobs too. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. If it was even kids, I don't remember.
Pesky jobs.
Yeah, life is busy, man. That's the way it goes.
And when you don't live in Keene, it's like you got to drive here and be here for 3 hours and then drive home.
And drive home. That's the part I'm going to love tonight. With.
All right, well, wish me luck because I got another 7 days of no food. So.
I think you should stop. I think it's horrible.
Yeah, and that's all in your head. You can just DoorDash. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, good luck. Make sure you have enough salt in your body.
I live in Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania. I would never order DoorDash. All the food I could ever want is a minute away.
If you're fainting every time you try to walk there.
Yeah, I don't recommend driving if you're as faint as you sound.
Well, it was only when I got that. I think there's a chemical reaction in my body from the extreme heat of the hot tub with like maybe my blood sugar level. That's the only time I feel that way.
That's the thing. So, I was having like this fainting spell for like a couple weeks, and it was back when I smoked weed all the time. I really think that's part of it for me because 2 of the times I've ever passed out, I just hit like a bowl and one time passed out. And this time it was like a very weird like week where it's like I was close to passing out all the time. I was in the shower and it was a hot shower and I just suddenly felt it coming on. Normally you don't really even feel it coming on, and I just got out of the bath the shower, and the next thing I knew was I had like laid myself carefully down on the ground so I didn't actually fall. And I think to this day that one, like I had smoked earlier in the day, but I think that was related to the hot shower.
Could.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's like
I agree.
Blood
That's
pressure.
something to do with it.
But that just like doesn't happen to me anymore. I think I'm not even trying to be funny based on what your call. I actually think it's because I eat way more nutritious food now and more food.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll definitely be starting to be eating more food soon, just not right now. But you know what food is
7 days.
I found is amazing? Is kiwis. And I highly recommend that everyone eat kiwis. These are like God's fruit, okay?
They hurt me.
These are superfoods.
Are they?
And people that don't eat kiwis, you really just don't know what you're missing. I mean, you really need to just load up on kiwis.
How many kiwis can you eat in a sitting? I look at a kiwi, and a kiwi is part of a fruit plate. I eat a few pieces of kiwi, and then I move on to other fruits.
Ian,
have you ever?
Like 4.
Yeah, well, you should just eat the kiwi.
Have you ever tried
the best thing in there?
Have you ever tried cherimoya?
Is that like chamoy?
No, it's it kind of looks like dragon scales on the outside. The outer
Is that
skin.
a fruit?
Yeah, it's nicknamed the ice cream fruit.
Oh my gosh, I do want to try then.
It's fantastic. I haven't seen one in New England though.
And I wouldn't imagine they're native. Did you bring any in?
No.
This is not fair.
Did you?
Cannot be talking about. No.
Turd, do you eat the skins of the kiwi?
Yes, that adds
Ian does.
way more fiber. Yeah, and
Ian does because he likes it.
Good.
It's gross.
Yeah,
that's
I don't mind it. I mean, obviously I enjoy the innards more, but but the skin's fine. You know,
that's weird. I didn't think he's gonna say yes.
You quarter them, and you eat them in quarters, and geez, these are just like really good fruits, and they're superfoods, and it's like the key ingredient that people are missing from
you know
their
how
health
like normal
age,
people they want like something like ice cream or cake for dessert. Ian is like, ooh, blueberries and kiwi, and he goes and makes himself a bowl of a bunch of fruit, and he has all these like tactics for opening oranges because he's Florida man, and he like eats every single bit you could possibly eat of every fruit, like doesn't like leave big bites left. Yeah,
I love the stems.
Not that.
Well, I think that's pretty based. I would say that, I think that's a good idea. As long as you're not including, so I found this out recently. There are like some high FODMAP fruits that are loaded with fructans, and you shouldn't eat them. Like apples, like they're actually pretty bad for you these days. I mean, they used to be good for you.
What exactly is that?
Bread.
Fructan.
Well, fructan, it's the
type
sort,
of sugar?
It's the sort of sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the sort of sugar that's in fruit. And apples these days are actually bred. They're literally bred for their sugar content.
So
like the more sugar you can grow into your apple, like the more it's going to sell for.
Well,
nice.
So they turned this once great health food into a craft.
Well, it was never really vitamin rich. It doesn't have that much vitamin in it compared to like an orange. I'm obsessed with oranges right now, but I'm juicing them. And I know it's like some people would be like, the fiber, but I don't need extra fiber. And I love the juice. And those are much better vitamin content than any apple ever was. So,
well,
that's probably true. I would put oranges up there in the superfoods list. Not quite with kiwis, but they're still pretty healthy.
Hey, you should try barrel cactus fruit.
That sounds interesting.
They're fantastic.
Well, I don't live in the desert, so I don't know how.
You could order them.
I'm sure you could find them somewhere online. Have them shipped over. They'll last at least a few days, and they're
Is it actually sweet?
They're pretty hardy. I mean, they're living somewhere where it doesn't rain for like 9 months sometimes, but they're full of these little black seeds, and they taste a lot like kiwi.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're really good.
Interesting.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Turd, thank you for your call.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
603-283-6160. Do you have a favorite fruit, or would you like to talk about something else? It doesn't matter to us. We're up for it. This is Free Talk Live.
Following reports earlier today that Indiana University freshman Lawrence Plotnick's roommate Brian Tabor has found an excuse to go home every weekend since August, Plotnick spoke to Onion reporters about his roommate's frequent trips to his nearby hometown of Terre Haute, Indiana.
Every week since we got here, it seems like every time I ask him if he wants to hang out on Friday, he has some wedding or birthday party or something. In fact, I'm pretty sure he hasn't spent a single Friday or Saturday night on campus in the past 6 months.
Plotnick went on to cite a variety of far-ranging excuses used by his roommate to justify his constant visits home, including various family functions, a visiting friend from China, as well as his occasional desire to, quote, just hang out at home for a couple of days.
I mean, I suppose I vaguely understood when he had to go back in November because his best friend's grandfather died, but last weekend he had to go back for his aunt and uncle's wedding anniversary. He said he couldn't miss it.
This is the Onion News Network.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Sally Patterson with a look back at some of the week's top stories. US President Joe Biden gave his farewell speech to the nation this week. The outgoing president warned that an oligarchy is forming in the United States as he cautioned against the concentration of technology, power and wealth. This comes ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
He spent some of the speech trying to define his presidential legacy, speaking about some of his achievements like investment in infrastructure and fighting climate change. But also in a departure from that, he spent most of his speech trying to defend US democracy and talk about the importance of it and the importance of protecting it.
On Friday, President-elect Donald Trump announced his swearing-in ceremony will now take place indoors. The decision came in light of dangerously cold temperatures forecast for his inauguration address on Monday. It'll be the first indoor inauguration since 1985. Fire crews in Los Angeles worked tirelessly to put out several major fires ripping through California. Strong winds there hampered efforts to slow the spread of the blazes, with dozens of people killed and many others missing. Here's Tony Waterman.
When the winds kick up, these embers can travel for kilometers and kilometers, and the landscape now in Southern California is just so incredibly dry that all it takes is a single spark to start a new fire.
South Korean authorities arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence on Wednesday. Yoon was holed up there for weeks and faced questioning over his short-lived imposition of martial law last month. Rebecca Bunden reports.
He is South Korea's first president to be detained while in office. A South Korean court has rejected a petition which challenged Yoon's detention.
A 14-year prison sentence was handed down to Imran Khan, the jailed former Pakistani prime minister, over corruption charges. His wife was also given a 7-year sentence in the corruption case. Khan has been imprisoned since 2023 on charges which he alleges are politically motivated. Hira Mustafa has more.
The couple faces accusations of accepting land as a gift from a business tycoon in return for laundered money during Khan's time in office. The court has directed Imran Khan to pay $3,500 as a penalty, while his wife must pay $1,800. The leadership of Imran Khan's party criticizes the court's decision as politically motivated and vows to challenge the decision in the country's top court. The government welcomes the decision, stressing that the country's judiciary has upheld democratic principles.
That's your roundup of news making headlines this week. Sally Patterson reporting.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the number to call to tell us what's on your mind, to change the subject. We are going to talk a little bit about the Great Awakening of the United States, which is going to take place on Monday when...
It's going to be great.
When...
The Great Awakening.
The savior of the right, Donald Trump, resumes his two-part series of Trump as president.
This is going to be like Armistice Day, where like at a very specific time, it's America is now great again.
That's interesting because I don't know the exact timing. I haven't even looked it up. I thought it was around noon, 1 o'clock. That's when... At least the outdoor inauguration. Of course, this inauguration is going to be all indoors. So
at 12:59, it'll be still not quite great, and then 1 o'clock strikes, and boom, great again.
Well, I think you just got to watch, and my wife is we can watch we'll be able to watch the inauguration, right? I'm like,
I've never watched it, but I feel like I will. Because what if he just frees Ross? Is that when it will happen?
Or he just goes off the rails and starts declaring war on Greenland or something like that.
I don't think he's going to declare war on them. But
he hasn't ruled out military action against Greenland to take it.
He wasn't funny last inauguration. he was boring.
I don't think inaugurations are really. I've only seen one live. I was there for Bush 2's first inauguration. Yeah, I actually went down there. And because I was kind of a neocon at that point,
So he was your savior?
He was my savior. No, after that was after...
Oh, wait, senior? Is that what you said?
No, you're saying I was having a senior moment.
No, wait, Bush Senior, Bush 2. HW, okay.
Yeah.
HW.
No, W. W is the junior.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, whatever.
It was whoever followed 8 years of Bill Clinton in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
So the one I was live
stole
for.
it from Al Gore.
Al Gore. That's just one word.
Yeah, Al Gore.
Al Gore.
Al Gore, who was president for like a second, and they said, wait.
The funniest thing about that day was, like, me and a buddy went in to watch the inauguration, and DC it just looked like it. Like, have you ever watched a movie where it's like the end of the world after, and there's no people in the streets? You're just in this deserted city.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been there in San Antonio during COVID. It's creepy.
So that's what Washington, D.C. was like after all the Democrats left after 8 years of Bill Clinton. It was just desolate. You look around, there was like nobody there. And then after the inauguration, then people kind of came out. But like,
isn't that the time when those two black guys were shooting random people in D.C. from their van?
I can't remember if that was before or after, but yeah, I was, let's see, it would have been after because I was in Pennsylvania. But yeah, that was pretty crazy stuff.
It could be anyone next. And I heard that apparently they only did it, like, they kept doing random people because they didn't want it to be obvious which murder it was, like, connected to, because it was his ex-girlfriend that he killed, and he was like, well, I gotta just keep killing random people now to cover my trails, or tracks.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a really interesting time, because I had a lot of friends in the DC metro area, and a lot of those took place in areas that I had been, but it was, it was some craziness. And then they finally caught the guy about 10 miles outside of a town I used to live in, Hagerstown, Maryland.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been there too.
You have, and you were going down to D.C., so you probably went through Frederick, Maryland.
Yes, and I liked Frederick too. I ate at a coffee shop there. Well, drink at a coffee shop.
But there's a couple big hills in between Hagerstown and Frederick, and there's a rest stop in between, and that's where they caught the guy. He was at that rest stop. I know it well.
And one other thing, since I had totally changed the topic to this, is one notable thing about that case was that the experts were completely wrong in every way they could be wrong. They were like, it's one man acting alone, a white male.
Man. Yes,
and
absolutely.
Like the age and the reason for doing it. And it turned out to be two guys working together, both black and wrong age. And they're just wrong in every way you could be wrong.
Yeah, nobody saw that one coming. But, when Whitey always does it.
I was going to say, how can you even tell if somebody's white by who they shot?
By the crime. If it's a shooting, then I hear this all the time, and it drives me nuts. Anytime there is any mass shooting, you will hear somebody on one of the leftist media companies will come out and say, well, angry white male, I mean, that's who we're looking for. And it's like, you don't know anything about this.
Angry white male. That's who we're looking for.
And it really throws them off when it turns out to be a woman. It turns off to be a person of color. And but you've just got to make that assumption to push your agenda on that side. That's what they do. So Trump is set to start slashing regulations across government in a bonfire of red tape. That's got to be like the most hyperbolic headline I've read in a while.
They're obviously trying to copy the chainsaw from Argentina. Milei, that's what he calls it when he says he's going to cut bureaucracy. So he brings out a real chainsaw and revs it up. Like, so ridiculous. So they're like, well, we can't say the exact same thing. We're just going to say a bonfire. It's kind of like sadly derivative
and
pathetic.
Sadly, they have a picture from Trump's first administration where he's standing there with a pair of scissors cutting an actual red tape. It just doesn't have the same visual as Malay.
I'm cutting this red tape, and then the construction will begin on a 15-year project to build a bridge.
It would be good if, like, he cut the piece of red tape, and then, like, a 6-ton wrecking ball went in through the middle of the Capitol and just
with Miley Cyrus
decimated it. I'd be with Miley Cyrus on. Yes.
I will not be watching the inauguration, but I would watch that.
I like that video. President-elect Donald Trump has said he plans to embark next week on one of the most sweeping deregulatory drives in U.S. history, slashing at rules emanating from every channel of executive authority. Trump's fellow Republicans say lighter regulation will unleash the economy.
And he's saying day one as in the day of the inauguration, right?
Has anyone explained to him how many minutes are in a day?
They always do way more than you would think somebody could do when they sign all these bills. And
right, and Biden's been the same. Well, Biden pardoned 2,500 people today.
Today?
Today.
I didn't hear that.
25 in their words, 2,500 nonviolent drug offenders. So if Biden did that, way to go. Thank God.
Yeah,
Nonviolent drug
I'm sure
offender.
people would dig through that list to find some horrendous actual criminals in there.
Well, at least the message is right. If people are in jail for victimless crimes, they should be let free. And I'll again, I'm with you, Stu. Let's prove it.
Yeah,
because I don't trust you. That's the only thing. I just don't trust any politician.
Yeah, and if you want to treat it like a prisoner exchange, then I'll probably take it. If you actually let 2,493 go that had no victim,
right?
And 7 were just awful or something,
right?
They get sorted out.
Biden seems to be good at that. Some businesses and consumer groups are planning to push back in court, however, echoing legal disputes over executive actions on immigration, healthcare, and enforcement during Trump's first term. People are recognizing that government has been way too antiquated, unquote, said Senator Kevin Craner, Republican of North Dakota. Quote, "We need to be able to move at the speed of China," unquote.
What does that mean? They cut regulations?
He is saying that, we are just way too antiquated. We have all these regulations that don't even do anything other than slow everything down. So Representative Kramer believes that this will allow the U.S. to move at the speed of China. Like killing workers that don't work enough? I mean, is that what you mean?
I think maybe what he means is in China, government lets big business pretty much do what it wants. And not so much for the little guy. And they're probably just going to try to copy that pattern.
Well, you know how they got rid of TikTok today or yesterday?
That's what I heard.
My brother sent me this picture that was like somebody in Chinese, but it shows the translation commenting on like Twitter or something.
Okay.
And they said, you don't need TikTok anyway. You need a revolution. And my brother was like shaking my head. The Chinese are noticing already here at this point.
Well, in a revolution, you just make a big circle and come back to the same point. I think we need something else.
Yeah, Trump said today that he is really considering a 90-day pause on this whole TikTok ban.
Yeah, he's been saying that he wants to try to overturn it when he gets in office, and he tried to make them wait longer so he could decide against it. So he doesn't seem like he's pro ending TikTok TikTok, which is weird because he's anti-China, so I would have thought he'd be on that side, but...
I think he's pro-U.S. company buying TikTok.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If they could get the revenue and he could take credit for it, and while we still have a TikTok to waste large portions of our life on, Trump would absolutely take that.
I've never used TikTok.
We're going to go to the phones where we've got Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Kind of early.
It is early for you.
Sometimes I get lucky. You guys put me on. Sometimes you put me on really late. But I just want to bring up that, those apps that tell you the directions of where to go.
Yep.
Well, is it a service? You have to pay for it?
Most apps are free, like Google Maps.
When
I
remember,
Waze.
she's not a driver.
I know you haven't driven a car.
Yeah.
Most of them are free. You can, I'm sure,
did you know
purchase
that
them.
there's a lawsuit involved that they're giving out driver behavior to the insurance companies, and they're raising up the rate, and they're getting sued because of the Privacy Act.
Wow.
Because they're giving out their driving behavior without their consent. So is that not allowed? I mean, but
it shouldn't be.
Well, I was told that General Motors got in trouble because they had sensors inside the car, like black boxes, and they would report their behavior to the automatic devices that would the insurance company would get a hold of that, and they got sued because they were having these devices without consent. It was not authorized when they bought the vehicle.
And there are things that people can voluntarily, sign up for from an insurance company. They say, if you'll put this black box in your car and let us monitor your driving habits, then we'll give you a discount on your car insurance.
Progressive has a snapshot driving thing that can lower your rates, that spies on you while you drive. Right. But the consensus among Americans anyways is that they don't mind being spied on all the time.
Unless
we found this out with Edward Snowden.
Right.
Nobody cared.
Unless you have something to hide.
These apps, they're giving out the driving behavior without the consent.
Yeah, so now they're getting in trouble, so now it matters.
So is that much of a big deal? I thought, as I'm concerned, I like the fact that is it a non-disclosure agreement? Is the violation right here?
Well, I'm looking at investigatetv.com, and it's not saying that like Google Maps or Waze or anything is being sued. It's actually the insurance companies being sued, and it's talking about how they collect and then sell people's information. But I haven't seen anything about like directions.
I imagine that insurance companies are probably big purchasers of location data. Like I could associate location data and speeds and things like that to drivers.
This one finally explained it. It said they're allegedly tracking drivers' behavior through third-party apps. Oh man, I need to see the full article, and now it's being crappy. But I don't know which third-party apps yet. Apps like Gas Buddy, Rootly, Life 360. So it sounds like Sarah's right and I was wrong, and it's just not like the ones I've ever really heard of. I mean, I've heard of Gas Buddy, but in my understanding, I thought that was like, see what the gas prices are in the upcoming town. Not
it is, but all those things now,
they're
going to really encourage you to enable constant geolocation, and they'll ask for precise geolocation so it can see things like speed and things like that. They just have this very lucrative pile of data that they're collecting because people want cheap gas.
In most cases, there's a way to get them to not collect or not sell your data.
Right,
but
you can ask them
but
to.
A lot of times they make it really convoluted, complicated process.
Right. And there are other aggregators that just we're going to buy aggregate data, and then we'll worry about tying it to individuals. Because in all these things in tech, there may not be personal identifying information, but there's ID of your phone. And if you've used your phone with some other app, they can correlate all these things and figure out who you are. And that's wrong. Sarah, I understand you're going to be all for it because it's going to be...
Oh, yeah, you got me right.
I know that.
It's like, you know what? This is like a little loophole. They just want a little niche to get away with bad driving. They have no business driving bad, speeding, or any of it. And if they could catch them, their insurance rate should be jacked up.
I want something to track pedestrians when they walk right in front of my car while I'm driving and just expect me to stop. I want something to catch them every time they're doing bad, send them a demand for money or jail time to their house. I don't really want that.
You know what? They're just doing auto brakes for the car. They're working on that. So they just...
Next time I just won't.
It'll just
I'll do what Richie Rich says.
Stop. Mm-hmm. You know, the thing is, here's the thing. When a pedestrian or a bicycle make a mistake, you know, who winds up getting killed or hurt? It's the pedestrian.
That's why they need to be a lot more careful than they are, especially in Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah, you stop and you look both ways. You make sure nobody's coming.
And being patient is huge. It's like, if it's like even like, you know, it's like uncertain, like, could I go or could I not go? I'm always like, I'm going to let the car go. Instead of being like, they'll see me.
No, yeah, I stand there until I'm absolutely sure they're going to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, Coke and I tried to jump out in front of a car.
But a lot of people seem to.
I just know, like Sarah says, who's going to lose that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like
mass wins.
A car driving past real fast is like, I wait 3 seconds. But me making them stop is like making them wait 10 seconds. So dumb.
Right.
And I don't want everybody to be like, stopping for me, and then I wave to say thanks, and then I go, I'd rather them just go, so I always pretend not to look at the road.
Sarah, do you see any benefit to mankind from having invented the automobile?
Yeah, I do say that I guess there's some, I mean, I guess we do need automobiles sometimes, but
I guess,
you know, to accept all these fatalities and thinking that it's normal, that's craziness.
Should we just outlaw cars? Yeah. Should cars be outlawed? Should we only have public transportation? That may be a solution.
No, but you know,
people used to get killed all the time by horses and wagons. All the time.
Probably even more if you factor in all their poop on the road.
Yeah, you get caught under a wagon wheel, you're done.
Drivers, they need to pay more insurance. You know, it's obvious. And if we could collect data, because we have technology, obvious.
Insurance is already, auto insurance particularly is
sky high.
Is a very profitable venture already.
And already like unfairly high for young men. And
because it's hard to get a fair claim out of them, and they charge too much because they can, because they're mandated, except not in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're worse drivers, I was told that you get points on your insurance, and your insurance is even higher, and they keep track of it every ticket.
Yeah.
And
they do.
How do you explain that there are fewer deaths, probably even per capita, in New Hampshire from from crashes than New Mexico when you don't have to, when insurance is not mandated in New Hampshire?
Well, not mandated. Well, the thing is that it is mandated, but I think 1 out of 4 people are uninsured.
In New Hampshire, it is not mandated.
In New Hampshire, you don't have to have car insurance, period.
And it's not the end of the world either. In fact, when I was in Salt Lake, where insurance is mandated, I made the choice to drive around without it for a long time. And when I finally got caught, the ticket for it was $350. And I did the math on how much I would have had to pay in insurance, and it was like $3,000 something. So I called that a win.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're doing here. They're all uninsured. And if you have to have uninsured car insurance policy that you have to pay, because if they slam into you, there's nothing paid out.
I never slammed into anybody.
Well, my point is that there are fewer crashes in New Hampshire where, it's not mandated. So I think your theory that if people just simply had to pay more, then the roads would be safer is wrong, because people pay more in New Mexico and there are way more crashes.
Yep. And people pay more and they feel like they want to get something out of it, so they drive faster.
Well, aren't you guys more educated? Look at our test scores. I mean,
these
you
two
guys
are.
got more
I'm
money,
not.
more education.
Depends on what you mean by education.
She means like New Hampshire. So
Indoctrinated?
Whenever you ask her why is New Hampshire doing so much better than New Mexico on X, Y, and Z, it's like a common question. She always says, "Well, it's because you have better education," and it's like every state in the Union of the United States has bad education compared to like the rest of the world. It's like, I don't think it's education, but I think it's way more root problems. Like you guys have like horrible alcoholism and depression.
Yeah, I learned more about how to be a competent human from the church than I did from the school, by far.
From my parents, even.
Right.
Well, I was homeschooled.
Here. I've never seen anybody so freaked out on drugs all over this place in Albuquerque. Like, I see people tweaking out in the early morning acting crazy, and then
just keep subsidizing it, Sarah. Well, asking for it to be subsidized.
If you say crystal, it means drugs. If you say beans, it means they're talking about drugs. It's supposed to be a covert word.
Well, I've never heard beans.
Drugs without beans and crystal.
Beans? What are beans? Like pills?
I always referred to pot seeds as beans.
Really?
Yeah.
Like magic beans? I kind of see that.
Yeah, beans means that the word
giant beanstalk
magic word for drugs, and clear is some word for drugs.
Queers.
All this clear.
Oh.
If you have any clear, they're looking for drugs, and
I did.
You know,
like a one-tick dope town.
If it wasn't a black market, then you wouldn't have a lot of these problems too.
It's amazing. It is true.
You don't really, I mean, you know, you got your drunks that you have a problem with too, but you know, most people who are drinking just kind of do it at home or wherever, and they leave you alone.
Yeah, drug addicts seem to be a much bigger problem than alcoholism, because like people are drinking in every state.
Right, but anybody of age can just buy alcohol in a store.
And most people don't have problems with it.
Right. Compared to drugs, where in most states you have to, and for most drugs, you have to do it and you're under risk of arrest and incarceration, which means there's no market for it that's safe.
Unless you can get it from the doctor, but he's going to cut you off at some point, and then you got to get it on the street. Right. That's probably how you started in the first place anyways.
Well, anyways, you know, I wish they do this monitoring. I wish they could take away their driver's license. Why just increase the insurance rate? The DMV needs to get a hold of this and get points from the right. Just take it. You know, I'm all in favor of it.
Certain that when they listen to Free Talk Live and hear your great suggestions, they will do just that. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your call. 603-283-6160 is the number to call to get on the phone. What do you think about drinking and driving and drug use? This is Free Talk Live.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Sally Patterson with a look back at some of the week's top stories. US President Joe Biden gave his farewell speech to the nation this week. The outgoing president warned that an oligarchy is forming in the United States as he cautioned against the concentration of technology, power and wealth. He also hailed his administration's accomplishments during the address from the Oval Office. This comes ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
He spent some of the speech trying to define his presidential legacy, speaking about some of his achievements like investment in infrastructure and fighting climate change. But also in a departure from that, he spent most of his speech trying to defend US democracy and talk about the importance of it and the importance of protecting it. There were several warnings within this speech, one of which he spoke about a growing oligarchy, the concentration of very wealthy, many billionaires, in fact, that surround President-elect Donald Trump, warning of having that much power and wealth concentrated in just a few people.
On Friday, President-elect Donald Trump announced his swearing-in ceremony will now take place indoors. The decision came in light of dangerously cold temperatures forecast for his inauguration address on Monday. It'll be the first indoor inauguration since 1985. Benji Heyer reports.
If you were expecting déjà vu, think twice. Donald Trump will become US president on Monday during his second inauguration. But one thing will be different. This time, it's happening inside. With temperatures outside reaching as low as minus 13 degrees Celsius, he's ordered proceedings be held within the US Capitol, promising a, quote, very beautiful experience. The last time the rotunda was used for an inauguration was for Ronald Reagan 40 years ago. But Donald Trump is known for breaking with convention. His first term was unpredictable, often unprecedented. And this is a sign it could be much the same again. Benji Heyer, Washington.
Fire crews in Los Angeles worked tirelessly to put out several major fires ripping through California. Strong winds there hampered efforts to slow the spread of the blazes, with dozens of people killed and many others missing. Evacuees anxious to return to devastated neighborhoods to survey damage were told they'd have to wait as hazardous material is removed. Here's Tony Waterman.
When the winds kick up, these embers can travel for kilometers and kilometers, and the landscape now in Southern California is just so incredibly dry that all it takes is a single spark to start a new fire. These high winds could also ground the helicopters and the airplanes that have been carrying out this aerial assault, dropping water, dropping fire retardant on the blaze. They've been absolutely critical in containing these blazes and keeping them from spreading further.
South Korean authorities arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence on Wednesday. Yoon was holed up there for weeks and faced questioning over his short-lived imposition of martial law last month. Rebecca Bunden reports.
He is South Korea's first president to be detained while in office. A South Korean court has rejected a petition which challenged Yoon's detention.
A 14-year prison sentence was handed down to Imran Khan, the jailed former Pakistani Prime Minister, over corruption charges. His wife was also given a 7-year sentence in the corruption case. Khan has been imprisoned since 2023 on charges which he alleges are politically motivated. Hira Mustafa has more.
On Friday, an accountability court sentenced former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife after convicting them of corruption. The couple faces accusations of accepting land as a gift from a business tycoon in return for laundered money during Khan's time in office. The court has directed Imran Khan to pay $3,500 as a penalty, while his wife must pay $1,800. The leadership of Imran Khan's party criticizes the court's decision as politically motivated and vows to challenge the decision in the country's top court. The government welcomes the decision, stressing that the country's judiciary has upheld democratic principles. Hera Mustafa, Islamabad.
The United Nations reports that the number of people in Haiti who have fled their homes has risen threefold in the last year. According to data from the UN's International Organization for Migration, some 1 million people are now displaced, with more than half being children.
Now, a lot of little girls do ballet even though their fathers couldn't care less and don't see what the big deal is. But one talented little prodigy actually choreographed a whole ballet that her father could enjoy and even look forward to. Let's meet Erin Kemper and her father, Jack.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Erin, how did you do that? I thought about all the things that my dad likes to watch and put it into a ballet.
Well, we have a special treat for you today because Erin is now going to perform her new ballet. When I pay the bills, I get to make the rules.
We can't afford that. World War II. I miss your mother too, but we're gonna have to do the best without her. Go Redskins!
Bravo! Well done. Boy, I wish she were mine. You know, my two girls are grown up, but you still couldn't pay me to watch one of their a cappella shows. What inspired you to create this amazing ballet?
I'm really inspired by the theme of my dad paying any attention to me at all.
Now, at the end, I hear she just put the game up on the big screen. I don't know where she gets it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Thank you for joining us for hour number 2 of our show tonight. We try to do 3 hours of entertaining radio every Saturday and every Sunday night because we care. We want you to have an opportunity to call into a radio show that nobody really censors you. We censor you for the dirty words you can't say on radio, but as far as topics go, we're pretty understanding, and we always have been. I wanted to remind you that Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. I love that copy. We were talking about that before the show.
Because it makes you laugh.
It does, because I don't know how many times you could say LibertyMinded.com. But you can.
This is going to make noise.
Oh, yes. Hold on.
Sorry.
Bonnie is experiencing some technical difficulties. It's our one microphone that is just kind of janky. I think that would be the correct technical term, wouldn't it be?
Janky. Yes, it's very scientific.
Okay. Well, I know Stu is much better at fixing things than I am.
We're in New Hampshire. We're educated.
Are we?
Well, that wasn't too bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. But if I would have kept myself unmuted, it would be all like, because I had to crank it and crank like a screw to get it to stick back to the table.
Yes, and these microphones work really good.
They do. They pick up any sound that you do not want to go out over the air.
I feel like if we got some... Well, I'm not going to talk about the technical, how to stick the microphone back to the desk.
Yeah, but...
It's what the listeners want to hear.
Exactly. They're just... Suffice to say, we are always looking at ways to improve the quality of our program, even if it means doing away with that janky microphone setup over on Bonnie's side.
This table was made custom for this room, and it's super thick wood, and if you hit your toe on it, it's like at least 5 minutes of pain instead of just like 20 seconds with the particle board table.
We were talking briefly about the next generation of Americans that are going to grow up in the freest country on the face of the planet.
Once it's what's the word? It's decided. Once everything's decided, because this is the most decisive day.
Yes, and Trump says that he has an absolute mandate by all American people to do all the things he wants to do.
What does that mean?
What he thinks is the results of this once in a lifetime, that the election was so in Trump's favor. I mean, literally 100% of Americans voted for Donald Trump.
You know what's so weird?
No.
No?
No.
No?
No, I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of Karens that did not.
You may be right, but at least
and white men for Harris. White dudes for Harris.
But at least, finally, everybody in the country showed up and cast their vote, right? Everyone. 100% of all eligible voters showed up at the polls. We did have that, right?
That's not true.
I know it's not.
That's never happened.
This is so
never
weirdly,
happened.
like, specific. Last night, I had a dream that somebody said to me, did you know only 17,000 people voted during this last election? And I did math in my dream for like the first time ever. I said, wait a second. Even if only 1,000 people in each state voted, that would be 50,000. That can't be true.
You're arguing with your own subconscious.
Yeah.
Doing math
That's
to prove
so
your
crazy.
self-conscious. Yeah, that's interesting.
I've never done math in my dream. And in fact, I feel like maybe I have, but it was like I was doing something like, what's 2 times 4? 800, obviously. Like, just something stupid.
Okay, so Donald Trump probably doesn't have a mandate from all Americans.
That's what he thinks.
Well, that's the way he talks.
He said all Americans.
He uses a lot of hyperbole.
Not only would everybody have had to have voted for him, but like you're saying, everybody would have had to vote at all.
Period. And somewhere south of 50% actually vote. I think it's in the 40-some% of Americans actually show up. And then about half of that actually voted. So the mandate that any president claims to have is at best by, 25% of the country?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just in general numbers, rounding things off, there are no mandates.
And even then, it's like, did he actually get 50%, about 50% of the actual people? Not talking about like what are they called? The other voters that are not regular voters. You know, he got 174 of the delegate votes, but it might have been that Harris got more like technical, like
popular vote.
Yeah.
So this time Trump did get, unlike his first time, he did get the popular vote, which means somewhere north of whatever Kamala got. It's still, somewhere in the 25% range. I mean, it's not a mandate.
And even then, it's like he's making such an assumption that, like, I voted for him, and I might be the only one here, but
I did.
Oh, you did? And that doesn't mean I agree with anything. He'd have to personally ask me what it meant to me,
Yeah.
And he'd have to personally ask you what it meant to you.
So why did you vote for Donald Trump?
Because I would like for him to uphold his word and free Ross Ulbricht.
See, mine is very, very different. I voted for Donald Trump hoping that he would free Ross Ulbricht.
Okay.
That's very different from what you said.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. That was the only reason. I don't expect anything else good to potentially happen.
I also have hope.
How many Americans are they saying voted?
I'll try to Google while you guys are...
Yeah. Bonnie will look it up because I'm lazy.
Because 90 million Americans like WWE, and 80% of Americans, up to 80%, enjoy some kind of sports or consider themselves a sports fan.
So Are you saying that Hulk Hogan really won?
I'm just saying that maybe he's a more legitimate president. Let's go full idiocracy, huh?
I like it. And that's the point.
I'd be surprised if more than 90 million people showed up to vote, though, because it's such an obviously stupid game.
Yeah, that would indicate that we would have like a third of the country voted. Yeah.
It's not giving me like an exact number, which is really annoying. It says 77 million voted for Donald Trump, 75 million voted for Kamala Harris.
So about 150.
150, so about
But no,
half.
because then there's Jill Stein got 780,000. Robert Kennedy got 750,000. Chase Oliver got 641,000. And then other candidates got 388,000. So
maybe 160-ish million.
Right.
So,
and
like, still
in a
less than
country
half.
of 38 million people in the country, but then we'd have to subtract out.
That's
how
less
many
than
of
half,
those-
right? Can't
Right. It's probably pretty close to half because not all Americans living here
Are registered to vote.
Right. Or
are eligible.
Right, or not eligible because they haven't turned 18 yet.
So, yeah, that's a good point. But also 338, does that count illegally living here Americans?
No, if you count illegals, then the U.S. population is 36.8 trillion.
Oh, my God.
That's just the Mexicans.
Oh, my God. That's
and
just
Canadians.
your Mexican friends' cousins.
Yeah. I mean, if you have like 20 illegal immigrants, then they're all going to bring their extended 3.2 billion families in. Right, and their cousins.
I've seen it. I've lived on the west side of the Salt Lake Valley, and they stack them in, man.
They do.
They must be sleeping on top of each other because I seen them tumble out in the morning to go to work like a clown car.
David hasn't seen that.
It's crazy. We have a lot of illegal. See, this is just a rash generalization. I'm going to assume these guys that come in who appear Hispanic and really can't speak English are here illegally. Shame on me. But yeah, that's how they live. They get an apartment and everybody on their drywall crew all live in the apartment.
Oh, yeah. And they all speak Spanish to each other, so it's hard to learn English. My ex, who was an illegal Mexican who came to America, he only did that where he was only talking to other people that spoke Spanish, and he kept saying to himself, like kicking himself, like, oh man, when am I ever going to actually learn English? So he watched Naruto in English, but he still wasn't that good until he met me.
The only Mexicans I had a problem with in Utah were the Americanized ones.
So second generation.
Meaning anybody who was illegal or a direct immigrant, like they moved themselves from Mexico.
Right.
They were all pretty decent people.
Right.
It was the ones that were like, the anchor babies growing up or whatever.
I've had problems here, problems there with every group of person. So, but
that's when you have to look at yourself, Bonnie, and go, am I the problem?
No, I'm just saying, like, I've had problems and not problems with every group of people.
Okay.
I used to be like, I love lesbians. Lesbians are all my friends and they're great. And then it's like, whoa, those ones sucked. Wait, maybe I can't say that. Same thing with gay guys. Same thing with illegal. Same thing with legal Mexicans.
Yeah, same thing with libertarians.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Same thing with libertarians. It's so true.
We're going to go to the phones where we have an unscreened caller from Philadelphia. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, Skeeter.
Hi, Skeeter.
Good strategy, libertarians.
What?
Vote for Trump.
What do you say?
Vote for
Good
Trump so he
Stanzi?
could- Good strategy, libertarians. Vote for Trump so he can deregulate the economy so the parasite can nurse itself back to health by growing the economy, right? Just so you could free the commissioner of murder, Ross Ulbricht himself.
I hope he should sue you.
No, I
You
only
finally
bring facts,
got us.
which you guys can't deal with, right?
You
I
got
bring
us.
Facts about Ross Ulbricht. That
And we just told you why we voted for Trump, and neither one of us said,
and I
because
did-
he's going to deregulate.
And I didn't vote. I never have.
But I told you is mainly to free the commissioner of murder himself.
Yeah, but
Ross
you
Ulbricht.
said for many other reasons before you got to that, and he should sue you for saying that because he didn't commission any murders.
Yeah, we've already had this talk. I don't believe it. And you're not going to convince me.
But he's read
Well, I showed you all the evidence already.
You did. You showed it.
No,
to
you
us.
don't have evidence. That's a very specific legal word. You don't have evidence.
He showed it to us over the radio. I mean, a call-in line.
Do you guys understand how ridiculous his defense is? He didn't even provide one hair of evidence.
He did not have to because they didn't charge him with it.
He didn't have because the prosecution was so screwed up on it, so dirty that they didn't. He didn't even have to put up a defense.
How are they dirty? First off,
in like 100 different ways.
We've already told him this. It's boring. Honestly, it's like I don't even want to talk about this. We should hang up on him.
Every time we get into arguments about evidence,
then maybe you should go back and listen to one of the episodes where we already told you about this. Like, how are they being dirty when they got actually charged for stealing money from his wallet?
How about that? Can we talk about that? Let's mix it up.
They didn't steal.
Let's talk about
money from his wallet. They stole money from the escrow wallets on the Silk Road, from the admin account they stole from Curtis Green, but they didn't use.
Okay, so whatever. They stole money from a wallet that wasn't theirs during the investigation of Ross Ulbricht, and you're asking how were they dirty?
That's irrelevant, buddy.
No, it's not. Just shut up, dude. You sound so stupid. You just ask a question, I answer, then you say like you just don't like it because I've already answered all your stupid assertions about Ross Ulbricht, and you say you have things like evidence. I tell you that you aren't even using that word right, and then you say, "Oh yeah, well, he didn't even defend himself over something he wasn't charged with."
Okay, Bonnie. They didn't even use any of that evidence of those corrupt agents from Maryland in the
because they were charged for it afterwards. They were charged for it afterwards. You asked how was the investigation dirty, and I told you because that happened during the investigation of him, and those are the people that investigated him.
Who was charged when?
I don't remember their names right now. We've told you that. We told you back then, though. It doesn't. It's like go Google it, dude.
Karl Marx Force, and I forgot the other guy's
Karl
name.
Marx Force the Third.
Hey, Chris, why don't you do your job?
I'm hanging up on you. I'm not joking.
Because I'm trying to give facts that you guys keep overlooking.
You're just yelling over people.
When you
I don't know why you put on this act.
You actually
It's
literally
not
are
even
just
very
like
good.
not doing anything today.
Stu, you agree with that, right?
I don't know. I don't know what you said because you're just screaming, man.
Slippery finger. I'm sorry. I had fried chicken before I came in, and
just during the break.
Buttons.
Womp womp.
I mean, I enjoy a good Skeeter call as much as the next guy.
I'd
That's
like
a way
to hear
of saying
one.
no
Zero.
one does.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we hypothetically, if there were a good Skeeter call, I might enjoy it too.
There are literally people who have told me like I used to think you were like not giving him the opportunity to speak, but at this point, like especially Lori is like let him go on for so long, and it's like he doesn't ever get to his points, and he actually is just like stupid. It's like I usually just skip to that part.
But
hanging up on him.
He does enjoy his opportunity to rant and rave for however long we give him.
The maniacal laugh, though, I mean, he's got me there. That's such a good point. I can't argue with that one.
Right. It just sort of sets the tone for the rest of the call. And
but you know that wasn't what he really wanted to talk about anyway. You really should have not hung up on him.
I know that and then he'll say, but that wasn't really why I called. And God, Stu, you were on, it was you and I and Riley, I'm sure. And I think we gave him like 10 minutes and I think he went through 4 or 5 subjects saying, but that's not really the reason I called.
Oh my God.
It was a stretch, but
yep. I think my favorite Skeeter call was when we gave him 1 minute and then we wished him Merry Christmas and didn't say another word about him.
And he just went nonstop and then click. But we did live up to our word. We did give him as much time as I said he would get, and
I wouldn't even say this is my favorite Skeeter call, but one time with just me and Stu on, we talked to him and we found out that he believes that he's not worthy of being loved.
Now that's really sad.
So you should always talk to him from now on.
Okay, I will.
It's clearly the root of some kind of freaking mental problem.
Yeah, it's probably true. Skeeter just needs a friend.
That's it.
But he's gonna keep self-sabotaging instead of being nice to anyone he talks to because, well, he doesn't deserve to. I don't deserve friends.
Yep. I hope he finds one.
I hope he does too. And not that I'm volunteering, but, maybe Stu could be Skeeter's friend.
Even if I had time, I'm not really good friend material.
See, I think you'd be good friend material.
Nah, not really.
See, maybe you and Skeeter would have that in common. You could both say you're not really good friends, and then you would have a subject to,
and then you kind of do a
about.
Double take looking at each other and like side smile and
maybe my best childhood friend. We were kind of unlikely, sort of, to become friends, but then somehow we got talking, and the conversation led to like how we could vandalize the teacher's car. We never went through with it, but we talked about like burning it down and all kinds of fun stuff.
You
and then
bonded.
Yep. And that was a great friendship for as long as that lasted.
Skeeter will be like, I kind of want to just accelerate the bonfire of the government.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that.
See, I that part of it I get. And I actually, like, when he starts being all collapsitarian, I'm kind of with him.
I don't really
at least
think
I
it
can
works
talk
like
about that. At least there's some merit to that. You got some ideas you can point to there. But
yeah.
Ultimately, at least how Skeeter explains like collapsitarianism, I kind of just don't think it makes any sense, because I think there's another option, which is to evolve and not to devolve.
He
thinks
about
there's
evolution.
Yeah, but for some reason he thinks that, people have to learn from their mistakes through, as if nobody,
suffering.
As if like, there are tons of examples of people who had horrible lives, then they have kids and turn everything around and their kids have great lives. It's not like, no, their kids are going to keep making the same mistakes as the grandparents because they have to learn from their mistakes. That's like so stupid. Like these people who are innocent in Argentina, he's saying that Milei shouldn't just make things better there, that he should let it collapse because the people need to learn because their great grandparents voted in the Peronists.
Yeah. And he talks as if everything's headed to like some level of perfection, but you can't pin him down on what that actually looks like.
Mm.
Yeah, we've asked, and it's a shame. I'd love to hear his thought. I did. See, now this is me falling into the trap that Skeeter actually has something to say. And
he doesn't. I listened to it.
I don't believe he does.
I don't know if I told you this, Chris, but Kadu, the caller, he found Skeeter's YouTube, and I listened to his manifesto. It's only like 4.5 minutes long, and it makes no points.
He did a whole manifesto in less time than one of his phone calls to Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I think he says manifesto, or maybe I'm putting that word on it, but it's kind of something like explaining wait, no, it's not. I don't remember what he calls it, but
evolutionary
capitalism.
Capitalism, yeah.
Yeah, it's his defining it.
Or just a list of some rambling thoughts. Who knows?
Now I need
talks about
that,
perfection.
I need that link. I need it.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got I got one friend on one social media who's just always like being like the biggest communist. He's like, this is what's wrong with capitalism. But then I look at other posts and he's like a complete like Austrian, So I think
capitalism
he's just
definitely has its problems, and I advocate for free markets.
Right.
But that's not what you have under capitalism.
Yeah. Well, that's not what we have. What American capitalism is not capitalism.
I don't know if if capitalism requires the government, and I'm literally saying I don't know. So if
it doesn't.
I wouldn't think so.
Capitalism
I would think that's
on
like the
its
same
own.
thing as free markets.
We don't have it in the United States because we have crony capitalism. We have government. We have oligarchies that control our capitalism. What we don't have actual capitalism. Actual capitalism to me is very simple. I have something I've made that I want to get money for, and you value it, and you would buy it from me.
Yeah,
that's kind of it.
Only reason you need government is to force a trade.
And we don't need forced. 603-283-6160 is the number to call to get on the air and tell us what's on your mind. What do you think about capitalism? This is Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Sally Patterson with a look back at some of the week's top stories. US President Joe Biden gave his farewell speech to the nation this week. The outgoing president warned that an oligarchy is forming in the United States as he cautioned against the concentration of technology, power and wealth. This comes ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
He spent some of the speech trying to define his presidential legacy, speaking about some of his achievements like investment in infrastructure and fighting climate change. But also in a departure from that, he spent most of his speech trying to defend US democracy and talk about the importance of it and the importance of protecting it.
On Friday, President-elect Donald Trump announced his swearing-in ceremony will now take place indoors. The decision came in light of dangerously cold temperatures forecast for his inauguration address on Monday. It'll be the first indoor inauguration since 1985. Fire crews in Los Angeles worked tirelessly to put out several major fires ripping through California. Strong winds there hampered efforts to slow the spread of the blazes, with dozens of people killed and many others missing. Here's Tony Waterman.
When the winds kick up, these embers can travel for kilometers and kilometers, and the landscape now in Southern California is just so incredibly dry that all it takes is a single spark to start a new fire.
South Korean authorities arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence on Wednesday. Yoon was holed up there for weeks and faced questioning over his short-lived imposition of martial law last month. Rebecca Bunden reports.
He is South Korea's first president to be detained while in office. A South Korean court has rejected a petition which challenged Yoon's detention.
A 14-year prison sentence was handed down to Imran Khan, the jailed former Pakistani Prime Minister, over corruption charges. His wife was also given a 7-year sentence in the corruption case. Khan has been imprisoned since 2023 on charges which he alleges are politically motivated. Hira Mustafa has more.
The couple faces accusations of accepting land as a gift from a business tycoon in return for laundered money during Khan's time in office. The court has directed Imran Khan to pay $3,500 as a penalty, while his wife must pay $1,800. The leadership of Imran Khan's party criticizes the court's decision as politically motivated and vows to challenge the decision in the country's top court. The government welcomes the decision, stressing that the country's judiciary has upheld democratic principles.
That's your roundup of news making headlines this week. Sally Patterson reporting.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the number to call to get on the air to take control of the airwaves. That's what you can do on Free Talk Live. You can talk about whatever you like. Can't use any bad words. But yeah, you can change the subject. In studio, it's myself, Chris.
Stu.
And Bonnie.
And at the end of last segment, in the aftermath of the Skeeter debacle, I guess I'll just refer to every Skeeter call as a debacle because we we end up getting angry and we never really talk about anything other than try to defend Skeeter's.
Well, that's what he's being paid by the feds to do, is to just derail the show.
Yeah.
That's why I hang up on him.
It's a distraction and a debacle. So, in honor of Captain, let's call that a distracle.
Yes, good job. Good job.
That sounds too much like distraught debacle.
Well, I'm sure his calls make many listeners distraught.
So I started to say something, and Skeeter's always talking about capitalism, and he wants evolutionary capitalism, whatever that means, which I've asked him to define, and he doesn't seem to be able to define it to me.
Well, you're not intelligent enough to understand.
I know. I'm an idiot. I apologize for that.
Stupid libertarians. He says it as creepy as possible.
He does. But I had alluded that capitalism, I think, is the best system that mankind has ever come up with. And Stu kind of said, well, there's other choices. And I just wanted to follow that thought. What other choices? And I'll preface that by saying what we have in the United States is not capitalism. It's crony capitalism. It's state-controlled oligarchy with very powerful businesses that do most of the control of our trade. But what other alternatives are there other than, going full commie where, they have control of all the means of production? But what other alternatives? What sits between, say, capitalism on one side and communism on the other side?
Well, there's an interesting concept that I think it was created either by a guy named Rayo or it was by Samuel Edward Konkin III.
Okay.
Called agorism, which is that's the idea of participating in free trade in all the markets, but to the end of counter economics for the state. So taking power away from the state through exercising trade in black markets mostly.
Okay. So
and that's one option. But if it were successful, you wouldn't have a state, so it would become obsolete anyways. I don't think you would need a name for the system of what's, for the best for the best possible situation where everybody's just allowed to trade whatever they want and nobody's forced to take anything they don't.
I guess I never really knew this for sure, so I've been Googling it while you guys were talking. I wanted to know if the term capitalism includes, does the government have to exist in capitalism? Does the government, because I would just think, well, say that you agoristed hard enough and the state went away and you're just still doing the same things you're doing, well, that's still just capitalism. But I don't know, Google is saying the government plays a role in capitalism, but the theory of capitalism emphasizes the role of free markets, and they're saying the limited role of government would be the government's role is protecting citizens' rights. But it's just that's not part of the economic system, so I feel like it's wrong.
They're protecting the rights of bankers and large corporations in such a way that that those who have some capital and play the game right are allowed to profit.
But I don't think that is necessarily part of capitalism, even though Google AI Overview is saying that. I just feel like if you're doing agorism and the state has dissolved and you're protecting your own rights with your own guns, you're still doing capitalism because it's really only defining the economic system. But for some reason, Google AI thinks it includes the government. I never really thought of it that way.
It is laissez-faire capitalism to the nth degree, where there is no state involvement whatsoever.
I guess, there could be different degrees of capitalism.
Right, so a lot of the market functions that we have now wouldn't be possible without legislation saying, the threat of being thrown in a cage. You can't go open a bank. You can't just say, I'm taking deposits.
Right, but you could in
and
a
I think
free
that's
market.
anti-capitalism. I think that
You could in a free market, but not in capitalism.
no, but I
Why
think that there's
couldn't
such thing as a free market capitalism, and then right now we have crony capitalism, which really I feel like shouldn't even be called capitalism
It's
because
not.
where are the free markets?
But that's
part of it
That's
too.
what
in this
I think of when I hear the word capitalism.
Yeah,
But I think
I think a lot
they
of
want
people
you to do that.
I think opium wars, and I think banana republics.
Right. They think of what government has devolved capitalism into
Or
as
that's
if
just
that
stole the
were
name.
normal capitalism, and that's not capitalism.
But that's what
that is an abomination.
That's what Adam Smith was writing about. We must have free trade. He's even at the point of selling the gunboats up and blowing people up.
I don't think he owns it.
And I don't
Yeah.
take it that far.
I don't think
Because
Adam Smith owns
every,
it anymore.
Every
than
trade is
anybody
supposed
else.
to have two mutually benefiting parties.
Yes.
So,
But since you
when
can
one
have
side
capitalism-
doesn't benefit, that's not free trade, but still is part of the capitalism game.
But you can have capitalism without a government. Therefore, it's not that it has to have government to be capitalism.
You could try, but it wouldn't be. I don't know that you would.
I don't think the idea that I think you have this idea that forced trade is part of capitalism when I've never heard that before in my life. I just think that's not part of the definition of, like, just because even what we have today, if that is happening, which it is, because it's like threats that wouldn't exist in a free market system. I think free market is part of capitalism.
Yeah, we're bordering on one of my autistic triggers, maybe, if I have it. But it's this thing about the English language being a living language, to where definitions just kind of shift over time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll have a conversation with somebody and you'll both be using the same word and meaning totally different things.
Right, to them, yeah.
And this happens more common than most people even realize, and it's terribly destructive to a culture.
And I feel like they did that on purpose to you with the
Absolutely.
word capitalism, because
Yeah,
it's
and a
really,
lot of other words, yes.
even when they say, oh, it's crony capitalism, that always irks me, because I'm like, at that point, it's not capitalism.
And I kind of hear what you're saying. To me, I mean, these things are sometimes best solved in a thought experiment. If it were Stu and Bonnie and Chris and Riley on a beach, and Riley has water, and you have pineapple, and Bonnie has coconuts, because she has a dog named Coconut, and I'm a fisherman, we all have something that we could all trade. And we would probably quickly come up with some concept of money, because it would be hard if I wanted fish, but Bonnie was out, and I only had...
Maybe. Unless we all had...
You have coconuts, I'm sorry.
Unless we all had more of those things that we could possibly use. And then we
just
might
give-
not even find it useful to have a system of accounting.
Right. But assuming that these are finite things, and most things are finite, we would come up and we would trade. And when trading became too cumbersome, or we didn't have the necessary resources that we wanted, then somebody would introduce the concept of using seashells as money. But I don't think, we don't need a government to do any aspect of that. In I think your words, you would consider that as agorist, that we are trading, amongst ourselves with no collusion and no requirement from any governing body. It were just the four of us on a beach, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess that would probably classify. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not an
think
expert on it.
That's all right, but I could see that working, and I could see at least the characteristics of agorism existing in that example, and I would see to me the true meaning of laissez-faire capitalism, without the need for any intervention, that these trades would still go on.
Yeah, but if one person grew a massive stockpile of resources while the others were barely scraping by, you can bet there'd be an upset. And that's not possible in the system you have now, with all the levels of obfuscation and complication.
That's correct.
See, I really think that AI thing was just kind of like propaganda,
It
because
was messing with your head, Bonnie.
the next things I go into, it says like capitalism means that the people, not the government, own businesses, and the then it says in the U.S. businesses decide what to sell. Okay, yeah, but then that one's trying to propagandize me that we have real capitalism here. Then
try to decide to sell one of the contraband items.
Yeah, Ian decided to sell Bitcoin.
Right,
and that's not even contraband.
Yeah. It was just that you decided to sell it wrong.
You did not wait for the U.S. Bitcoin reserve to exist.
Yeah, you didn't get the permission, which doesn't exist yet.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing where they're kind of, another definition it says here, says, somebody asked, is the government involved in capitalism? They say government's mode of intervention in a capitalist system is primarily indirect. But then again, that's just like,
that's funny.
Once they're doing that, it's not free markets, and free markets, it says up here, is a part of capitalism.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah, it's
right.
Don't believe that.
Yep, case in point about the whole green language thing.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
If we want to have a conversation about it, then the only logical thing to do is to agree, what does capitalism mean, and we're all going to use it that way for the duration of the conversation.
It makes me so sad when somebody will say, like, I'm not a libertarian because, and then they're saying all the things libertarians already understand, but they've been so propagandized. Like Ray Peat, my favorite doctor who's dead now, he didn't say straight up, I'm not a libertarian, but people would always ask him what his politics were, and he would like really not want to say because he wanted his stuff to be heard without being turned into like, he's a Trumpy or this or that.
Right.
Like, died in 2023. And one of the things somebody squeezed out of him was, he was like, I think people need to focus on what's important, is that the system is trying to kill you. And then sadly, he said something like, the people with the most capital have like this advantage over you. And it's like, it seems like he's like, because he's like on to something, but it's almost like getting close to being anti-capitalist. And his parents were anarchists from Oregon.
Wow.
And anti-war anarchists from Oregon. So he was like really anti-war, but
yeah.
It's like he understood so much, but it's like, just start with non-violence, non-initiation of violence, and just go from every logical everything logically that leads from there, and you're good. It's so easy.
Right. And it's difficult for people that have been taught their whole lives something completely different. You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing. And that's the part and it's very frustrating for any of us who have libertarian ideas to not hear these words like capitalism. People talk about that, and it's a trigger. I recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for you, Stu, but for me, because people say, we have capitalism. No, you don't. You have crony capitalism. You have this abomination of a free market that's not at all free.
At the very least, you could say we have mixed markets, because we have straight up socialism in some sectors.
Yes.
Like cops.
Yes.
Socialized protection.
How can you say you have a free market when you have straight up socialism?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's probably closer to fascism.
To be fair, yeah, and that would be a more accurate term.
I think we have socialism, fascism, and some things. I don't think anything is like free market.
I don't think so either. As Daryl used to love to say, I want everything to be regulated no more than tomatoes. Pot should be regulated like tomatoes.
And
it's
then
like
other people make the point.
Tomatoes are a bit overregulated.
Right. The other people make that point.
With him. It was like, yeah, sorry, Daryl.
When you drive into California, they stop you like it's a freaking, like DUI stop, but everybody that goes in California. And they'll ask you if you have do you have this plant in your car?
Yeah.
And it's
only on the interstate.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's just like different plants that they've decided, and it's not weed. That's not what I mean. It's like, I don't know, this wild fern, and the thing is like they don't want to get kudzued like the South.
I get it, and if you were a private property, I would respect that. If you said no, you're not coming on my property
with
bringing
kudzu.
I'm going to respect your property
if
rights and
listeners
say,
don't know,
okay, that's fine.
I don't remember where it came from. I learned this year where it came from. Maybe somewhere in Asia, but
yes.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere in Asia.
It's a vine, and it's covering everything in the South that has been my whole life.
pretty much anything bad, like invasive, you just say it's from Asia, and you're probably right.
I just learned earlier this year because I just couldn't believe my eyes when I was in Tennessee looking over like this like cliff, and it's just like it looks almost like an ocean of kudzu.
Yeah. So like a little prepper tip, I think you can like fry up kudzu thinly sliced and make like a fair kudzu chip.
Huh.
So you might try that next time you're down there.
Gross.
Fry up non-seed oils, but fry up some good kudzu chips and give us a report.
That's just that sounds like the epitome of I have lost the plot. Now I'm eating kudzu chips. Stay alive. I wouldn't want to be.
Well, I look at anything and say, is there an upside? Could there be something positive about kudzu? Are they tasty?
I doubt it is. I just have an idea that it's not because of how much I think of it as like that crap over there. Hate it. You see it and you're like, man, we hate that stuff.
Then maybe on the island I will start a kudzu factory and sell it to both you and Stu and Riley.
And then we'll put you in prison. I'm just kidding.
You'll form a state just to throw me in jail.
It's made of kudzu.
Right.
But I only brought up the kudzu if it wasn't clear because I was saying, well, California is like regulating so much stuff. I'm sure tomatoes are the same way. You know, it's like, oh, well, if you bring a tomato here, but it's like this and not like that, and like, oh, you want to crossbreed these tomatoes, we got to ask permission. I'm just guessing. I'm just saying how ridiculous they can get about plants.
The government has regulation on grading tomatoes, what certain grades are, what certain types of plants can be.
You can't sell that one under that name. It's not red enough.
It's just absurd. And there, Daryl was making a valid point. Like, his point was trying to be that marijuana should not be regulated by the government. And in that we're in agreement, but you can't say regulated no more than something else.
Regulated no more than tobacco.
In the United States, everything is regulated.
Yeah.
There are no
regulated no more than
you can
Bitcoin.
Throw out there. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the land, the water, and the air are all regulated. Everything's regulated.
But selectively. So this was a story that's come out, and as you both know, I do kind of have this thing with the convenience store industry. Zen is a big product.
Mm-hmm.
And, we sell vapes and stuff like that. People want nicotine. They don't want to smoke it. Some people.
Nicotine's good.
I still find it so weird that it blew up so much that even like young pretty girls are putting it in a freaking dip, basically. But Zen.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
With Zens, you typically put it in your upper lip and it doesn't show like a big old chaw tobacco in the lower lip.
And they're not spitting like some brown stuff into a cup.
Right.
Does it not smell like tobacco either?
No, and it's nicotine, but non-tobacco. It's chemical.
Yeah, they just put the nicotine salts right in it.
It has fiberglass and it cuts you. Oh, I don't know if the nicotine is salt. But yeah, it's made of fiberglass and it cuts your lips that way it can get into your bloodstream.
That's the all the nicotine, all the chew pouches. The pouches. They don't put fiberglass in the loose cut stuff though.
Yeah, because this is like a little pouch type thing. It looks like a piece of like Chicks gum. Is that what it's called? Chicks? Well, it's like kind of a rectangle.
Okay. The long and the short of the reason I bring this up is the FDA just granted a pre-market determination of acceptance to Zen.
So that's good.
So they're saying that, okay, there are reasons that we believe that this will help reduce the number of people smoking. So they went through this process and they have granted this, I want to call it a PDMA, but I'm probably getting those letters wrong. But this approval that says, okay, we don't oppose this and Zen can be on the market. Further, Zen flavors all past this. So, your cinnamon Zen, your coffee Zen, your peppermint, your spearmint, all these different flavors that Zen has is now been granted this government seal of approval. In the meantime...
Hasn't this already been on the market for quite a while?
Yes.
They're just saying, hey, we're not going to destroy you.
Right. We're not going to destroy you as an industry. And Zyn is owned by Philip Morris. Conversely, on the vape side.
Who's that?
All the people that make vapes.
Oh, sorry. I meant who's Philip Morris?
Philip Morris is the
Big Tobacco.
Big Tobacco. Yeah. If you imagine Big Tobacco.
Oh, that's a company, not a person?
Philip Morris and Altria.
RJ Reynolds is the other big one.
And I think they consider one more, but these big, huge tobacco companies are collectively known as Big Tobacco. On the vape side, which is another method of delivering nicotine into one system, they have never approved any vape.
Favoritism, kind of.
Not one of them. They have never given the same approval that they quickly did for Zyn. So I'm looking at this going, man, at least be not so opaque that you can't say that. The reason being is that they said that, Zyn can help people stop smoking. I'm a guy who have not smoked a cigarette in 5 years plus now through nothing but vapes. And that worked for me. So why am I not allowed the same access to products that help me not inhale burning smoke? But
is there not some kind of big company that's behind the vapes?
In some, I think Altria was the company that got involved with Juul, and they were able to gain that level for something.
Got the right lawyers or something.
Got the right lawyers and bribe. It's more about bribing the right politicians and the right bureaucrats, and they have that approval too. Yet all these vape companies, hundreds of them, if not thousands, cannot successfully complete this bar of being acceptable to sell, and all they're doing is playing whack-a-mole, trying to kill off every last vape company. And I'm really disappointed because I consider vaping to be very important to me, not only for my business, but for me personally.
That's not fair because it should be that one company wins in court and that applies to all the vape companies, but they're just no, you paid for your lawyer. Now everybody has to.
Yeah, that's literally what it is.
Maybe they can go for something that caused a precedent, but
right. And for each, for every, and the FDA requires that every individual product go through this $100,000 to $500,000 process. That's what you're going to have to spend in lawyers and stuff like that.
In order to sell vapes, you're saying?
Yes.
Whoa, okay, even the stores.
So
if you did that, then do they give you their seal of approval?
If they ever did it, they've never done it, so I can't say yes. I mean, maybe Juul got one at one point, and they were allowed to sell Virginia tobacco flavored, and menthol, and that was the only two things that got approved by them.
So are vapes just on the market, kind of in a gray area? Or?
Absolutely. So most disposable vapes, which are the most popular way to vape, people just buy a disposable one and get 20 to 30,000 hits out of it and then throw it away. Those all come from the same couple of factories in China. And when the government says, okay, we've got to get this off the market, they just change the name and sell it as something else. 603-283-6160 is our number. Give us a call. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Sally Patterson with a look back at some of the week's top stories. US President Joe Biden gave his farewell speech to the nation this week. The outgoing president warned that an oligarchy is forming in the United States, as he cautioned against the concentration of technology, power and wealth. He also hailed his administration's accomplishments during the address from the Oval Office. This comes ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
He spent some of the speech trying to define his presidential legacy, speaking about some of his achievements like investment in infrastructure and fighting climate change. But also in a departure from that, he spent most of his speech trying to defend US democracy and talk about the importance of it and the importance of protecting it. There were several warnings within this speech, one of which he spoke about a growing oligarchy, the concentration of very wealthy, many billionaires in fact, that surrounds President-elect Donald Trump, warning of having that much power and wealth concentrated in just a few people.
On Friday, President-elect Donald Trump announced his swearing-in ceremony will now take place indoors. The decision came in light of dangerously cold temperatures forecast for his inauguration address on Monday. It'll be the first indoor inauguration since 1985. Benji Heyer reports.
If you were expecting déjà vu, think twice. Donald Trump will become US president on Monday during his second inauguration. But one thing will be different. This time, it's happening inside. With temperatures outside reaching as low as minus 13 degrees Celsius, he's ordered proceedings be held within the US Capitol, promising a, quote, very beautiful experience. The last time the rotunda was used for an inauguration was for Ronald Reagan 40 years ago. But Donald Trump is known for breaking with convention. His first term was unpredictable, often unprecedented. And this is a sign it could be much the same again. Benji Heyer, Washington.
Fire crews in Los Angeles worked tirelessly to put out several major fires ripping through California. Strong winds there hampered efforts to slow the spread of the blazes, with dozens of people killed and many others missing. Evacuees anxious to return to devastated neighborhoods to survey damage were told they'd have to wait as hazardous material is removed. Here's Tony Waterman.
When the winds kick up, these embers can travel for kilometers and kilometers, and the landscape now in Southern California is just so incredibly dry that all it takes is a single spark to start a new fire. These high winds could also ground the helicopters and the airplanes that have been carrying out this aerial assault, dropping water, dropping fire retardant on the blaze. They've been absolutely critical in containing these blazes and keeping them from spreading further.
South Korean authorities arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence on Wednesday. Yoon was holed up there for weeks and faced questioning over his short-lived imposition of martial law last month. Rebecca Bunden reports.
He is South Korea's first president to be detained while in office. A South Korean court has rejected a petition which challenged Yoon's detention.
A 14-year prison sentence was handed down to Imran Khan, the jailed former Pakistani Prime Minister, over corruption charges. His wife was also given a 7-year sentence in the corruption case. Khan has been imprisoned since 2023 on charges which he alleges are politically motivated. Hira Mustafa has more.
On Friday, an accountability court sentenced former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife after convicting them of corruption. The couple faces accusations of accepting land as a gift from a business tycoon in return for laundered money during Khan's time in office. The court has directed Imran Khan to pay $3,500 as a penalty, while his wife must pay $1,800. The leadership of Imran Khan's party criticizes the court's decision as politically motivated and vows to challenge the decision in the country's top court. The government welcomes the decision, stressing that the country's judiciary has upheld democratic principles. Hira Mustafa, Islamabad.
The United Nations reports that the number of people in Haiti who have fled their homes has risen threefold in the last year. According to data from the UN's International Organization for Migration, some 1 million people are now displaced, with more than half being children.
Calling it the most effective means to reaching one's full earning potential, a new report issued by the Employee Benefit Research Institute this week found that violently slamming one's supervisor against a wall and shouting, "Cash, I need more cash," is still the leading tactic for securing a raise amongst American workers.
We found that employees have the most success negotiating their salaries when they stride confidently into their supervisor's office, manhandle them like a rag doll, and demand more money right now.
Experts confirmed that the majority of employees who managed to increase their salaries maintained direct eye contact with their supervisors while reiterating that they were not f***ing around, emphasizing their position with phrases such as, "Give me the money now," and "I said more cash, old man." The Onion sat down with Kevin Simmons, who recently applied these methods in negotiating a competitive bump in his annual salary.
So the other day I walked right into his office, grabbed his throat with my hand, and told him straight up, "Start paying me more f***ing money today." And I grabbed $100 out of his wallet and told him that was a good start.
This is the Onion News Network.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. Now entering our number 2 of our show.
No, number 3.
Geez, time flies.
Yeah, it does.
In studio, it's Chris,
Stu,
and Bonnie.
And I would like to thank Tom for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Tom went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. So thanks to Tom and everyone else who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of being an amplifier. Thank you very much, Tom, and we appreciate it.
I wrote that one, since we're mentioning who wrote them today.
Good. Do I get to write?
I bet the trolls are like, that's why that one's the worst. That's why that one sucks. And I've always thought that.
Oh, God. We've been talking about, how much things are going to change now that Trump is going to be inaugurated on Monday. I mean, the brave new world that we're experiencing. I was extremely pleased to hear this one. Go ahead, Bonnie.
I remember the serious letdown because I was just a very new libertarian back then, and I obviously didn't have everything because I voted for Trump, and I really believed that he was going to do a whole bunch of different things, and it was month by month goes by, and at first you hear about how bad all the cabinet picks are, and I wasn't even really libertarian. I'm more listening to Milo Yiannopoulos, and even he is saying yeah, these suck, and And then he disappeared. And like, he's the one reason I kind of voted for Trump. Milo Yiannopoulos,
right?
The
Poor
ex-gay guy.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember being a huge letdown. And then time just goes by and everything goes back to like normal feeling. It's nothing exciting anymore. I wonder if it'll be exactly the same to people who really believe. Okay, I want to say that I believe he'll let Ross go, but other than that, I really don't really believe anything positive. I think if anything, they are setting up for some really bad stuff with the FDA because they're using all these these words that sound so good about health stuff, but I think like the fact that they want to ban anything, even Red 40, even Red 40, bad.
Does that have Red 40?
Your
runs?
Yeah. My runs have Red 40. They also have corn syrup, so that's one thing I was like, dang it. Shouldn't be eating those. And I thought that they didn't. I think the reason is because there's other sweeteners at the beginning, and I kind of like looked over it. Really sucks.
You saw something nice and shiny that you like, and you quit reading.
And I got those peppermints over there in the other corner because they were made of cane sugar. So it's like I really do look, but I don't mind that those peppermints have Red 40 in them because it's like I think it only really affects like 5-year-old brains, not like mine.
Your 6-year-old brain.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be very thrilled to hear this news because you talked about appointments and Donald Trump. This is coming to us from Fox News, so it's got to be true. Trump names Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and Jon Voight as special ambassadors to, quote, very troubled, unquote, Hollywood. President-elect Trump moves into the White House on Inauguration Day, January 20th.
Wait, what was the third one? Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone. Who's that other guy?
Jon Voight.
I don't know who that is.
That is, what's her name?
Voigt, like that spelling? Oh.
V-O, well, here, let's go. President-elect Trump announced 3 special envoys on Thursday with the purpose of promoting business in Hollywood. Quote, it's my honor to announce Jon Voight, V-O-I-G-H-T, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors.
Oh, Angelina Jolie's his daughter.
Yes, to a great and very troubled place, Hollywood, California, unquote. Trump said on his Truth Social
great and
platform.
Very troubled.
Is there even an American embassy in Hollywood? Are they going to have to build one?
They'll probably build one.
That's so funny. I've never heard of that.
It'll be just Trump's head. It'll be huge. It'll be wonderful. It'll be the best head ever. Quote,
you mean you like walk in the mouth? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Quote, they will serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost more business over the last 4 years to foreign countries, back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before, unquote.
Oh, good. Hollywood, where they make magic with their magic Hollywood wand.
Well,
magic moon landings.
I suppose there's still a little unburnt part of Hollywood left.
It was just West Hollywood. It's just the gay makeup artists.
Okay. He added, quote, these 3 very talented people will be my eyes and ears, and I will get done what they suggest. It will be like the United States of America itself, the golden age of Hollywood.
Mel Gibson actually lost his house.
Mel Gibson did.
I think you told me that, maybe.
I think out of all of these 3, Jon Voight, Sylvester Stallone, and Mel Gibson may be the most divisive.
I was going to say, aren't people mad that he like yelled cuss words, like racist cuss words and stuff?
Yeah, they're all bent out of shape about it.
Yeah, that was years ago. Recently, he was on Fox News saying that the fires was a planned event to get people off of the land.
Whoa. And well, he did lose house, so I'd be mad too. And he's also coming up with a Passion of the Christ 2, which I was just like, why? How do you make a 2? It's literally called Jesus Returns, I think. Let me make sure.
Ooh, the second coming? That'd be cool. I might go watch that one. I never saw the Passions.
Quote, we are in the presence of a really mythical character. Nobody in the world could have pulled off what he's pulling off, so I'm in awe.
So it won't be the second coming.
Sylvester Stallone.
Sorry. It won't be the second coming. It's going to be the resurrection. So it's called Passion of the Christ, Resurrection, which is kind of funny in its own way because...
It sounds like a like a Alien movie. That could be like the second one, or
that they literally use that word for, like, I don't know what the name of the second Matrixes are anymore. I used to know, but if you heard it was the Matrix Resurrection, it wouldn't be surprising, because it literally is the word they use for sequels. So it kind of makes it funny, like a double entendre. But I thought it was called Jesus Returns. That's definitely not what it's called. But yeah, that's coming out in 2026, and I think it might be interesting. But why make a second, like, why make sequel to the Passion of the Christ?
Why not? You could make a whole miniseries out of it if you consulted with the Mormons and just came up with good stories about what Jesus did with the Lamanites and Nephites.
Yeah, that's so true. You could have like a series, a TV series.
I think they just need to go full Marvel and just bring Jesus Christ back as a superhero.
Well, like Marvel, this film is going to be split into multiple parts. So it's going to be like part 1, part 2.
Nice, so you can get more mileage out of it.
Yeah.
Jesus is a character on South Park, and he's great.
Oh, yeah. And he doesn't look anything like Jim Caviezel.
This goes on. Gibson, 69, who backed Trump in the 2024 election while also taking a swipe at Vice President Kamala Harris. The Braveheart star was asked about the presidential race after landing at Los Angeles International Airport. Quote, "I don't think it's going to surprise anyone who I voted for," unquote, Gibson said in a video obtained by TMZ. When the cameraman mentioned Trump was a bad guess, Gibson quipped back, quote, "I think that's a pretty good guess," unquote. Quote, "I know what it's like if we let her in," Gibson said, referring to Harris. "That ain't good. A miserable track record, an appalling track record, no policy to speak of, and
I can see
she's
why
got
they're
the
friends.
IQ of a fence post," unquote.
I can see why he and Trump are friends.
Yeah. The Mad
Somewhere
Max actor
talking.
was, quote, "surprised," unquote, to find out about his new role, but admitted he is ready to help the administration in any way.
Surprised. They didn't ask at first or anything. Trump's just like, "You're doing this for me."
Oh, he got the message on Truth Social like everybody else did.
That's crazy.
Quote, "I got the tweet at the same time." Yeah, I don't know if they call them tweets over there. At the same time as all of you, and was just as surprised, Gibson said in a statement to Fox News Digital. "Nevertheless, I heed the call. My duty as a citizen is to give any help and insight I can. Any chance to the position comes with an ambassador's residence," unquote.
Because he lost house.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to have to build an embassy.
Voight, 86, an outspoken conservative actor and longtime supporter, once declared Trump to be, quote, "the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln," unquote. Yeah. Sorry about that one. We don't feel the same.
I could say some good things about Abraham Lincoln, but I won't.
Okay.
I have nothing good to say about that person.
Quote, "Don't be fooled by the political left,
All right.
because we are the people of this nation. We are the people witnessing triumph," unquote, Voight said in a 2-part message shared on X in 2019. Quote, "So let us stand with our president. Let us stand for this truth that President Trump is the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln. God bless America," unquote.
Trump has something with Abraham Lincoln
fan.
Trump likes Abraham Lincoln, and in the day that he had his last inauguration, the first thing he did was he was like, "Take me to Abraham Lincoln's room," and he was like, I went in there and I thought about what it was like for him. I was just like, ugh, I hate that. Disgusting. And Abraham Lincoln is the most commonly seen ghost in the White House.
So he wanted to see.
I'd be pretty upset too if after I died they were like made up all these stories about me and then made a big monument and like I'm sitting in a chair and there's a fascist under my hand. I might be a little upset too.
He's not. He's happy about that. He was a fascist.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he may have been an unintentional fascist. Information was harder to get in those times, and I think to some degree he meant a better outcome than we got. I'll just say that.
One thing is for sure, they didn't want the South to be able to rightfully just leave and he used force and killed over 600,000 people on both sides.
Yep, that's unforgivable.
Unforgivable. And he's probably hunting it because he probably can't rest.
Yep, that might be a good reason too.
So going back to Trump wanted to see Lincoln's bedroom or wanted to see the Lincoln bedroom in the White House, because that room is one that, going back to, I know Bill Clinton, like every guest could, if they paid enough to his campaign, could have a night in the Lincoln bedroom.
Is it not what Lincoln's bedroom was?
I don't know. I'm not sure if they were referring to the president's quarters or if, like, the Lincoln bedroom, that kind of had other connotations back then.
Well, he was saying, like, I thought about what it was like for him being in there, thinking if Trump didn't know he was never in there, it'd be kind of funny. But I don't know. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about, but I don't know.
I would.
Has it burned down since then, or did it burn down before that?
That was before that.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just know it burned down at some point.
The British did burn down.
Oh, that was the Revolutionary War. You do remember that?
I do remember that because I am that old. But yeah, the Lincoln bedroom was like, that was the one thing that every donor got. If you gave enough money to the president, then you could absolutely spend the night in the Lincoln bedroom.
It must have been a room that Lincoln stayed in, because he said about how he was a tall man, so it's a big bed.
Okay.
What if he's wrong? That'd be so funny. It's just set up that way to be.
They just named it Lincoln bedroom. I don't know.
He's like, I could actually feel him entering my body because I wasn't. No, I'm just kidding. I just made that up. But that's funny.
Do I have to bleep you? That was
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
I meant like I was like a religious experience.
Okay. Whatever you got to tell yourself.
I'm shocked that he likes Lincoln so much. It's like he wasn't even interested in politics before he got into it.
Lincoln was a tyrant, and Trump certainly behaves tyrannically. And I've gotten into heated discussions with some of my more conservative friends that
maybe that was before they used lawfare against him, because Lincoln would just put anybody in prison. It was like 14,000 Northerners that he put in prison because they would say something bad about him. That was like not even counting all the killing people and destroying people's livelihoods in the South. He was a tyrant for tons of other reasons.
Yeah. And Trump was too. And nobody on the right wants to talk about that. I love to bring up the bump stock ban.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, what firearm accessory that doesn't fire a bullet is Trump going to try to ban this time?
Wow.
I mean, what's it going to... Maybe slings.
Yeah.
Like you're not allowed to buy a sling unless it's considered a firearm.
One of the most disgusting bans that Massachusetts and New York definitely have, but I'm pretty sure other states do too, is body armor. It's like, it's illegal to not get shot.
In most states, I think. I know a lot of them have body. And that was one of the things that just drew me to New Hampshire on one of my first visits. We were driving through, I can't remember if it was somewhere outside of Manchester, but I saw Body Armor Outlet.
Wow.
It's like, that's the name of the business, Body Armor Outlet. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is great. Something other states have like laws against, and no person except for people in law enforcement may possess. New Hampshire has outlets, so that's good.
Yeah, that is a really strange thing to ban. Like, what your body needs to be shootable, penetratable by bullets at any given time, because
Well, I mean, for bad guys, no one is going to want to have body armor except for people that are dead set on robbing people and killing police officers. That's the only reason you would ever want or need body armor. That's the thinking. And
it's just so dumb that people are that easily tricked into agreeing with that kind of a ban. Like, I could see that.
Yeah,
that argument doesn't even hold up anyways, because they got SWAT teams that can get there as fast as local cops, and they have, Kevlar tip bullets. So your body armor is not going to mean much once SWAT gets there.
Yeah. It's an asinine idea that you can restrict simple things, and and in my early days, I'm speaking of the Revolutionary War. But
you were 16, but you signed up.
Exactly.
Maybe they let 16-year-olds in. I don't know. I'm not like a Revolutionary War buff, obviously, today.
But the idea was that they had this country was started with military weapons. This is how we fought, and that's how the United States became the United States, is because people had the equivalent of military weapons that they then used against the British military and gained our independence. And it's insane when people bring up these stupid rules and stupid ideas, like it is un-American to believe that you need body armor. Yes, we do. We whether we do or don't, it's just something that government has no right to be regulating, but they do.
It's so obvious to me that the only reason the government would say, hey, we're going to enact that law is because they want to be more able to kill you. But then people are propagandized and brainwashed enough that they think, it makes sense that they're doing that to keep us safe from all the other bad guys that aren't them. And the thing is that really irritates me is like people will be like, I was the victim of gun violence. I'm the family of the Sandy Hook, blah, blah, blah. I was the victim of government violence and no one cares.
Right. As was I. And it's absolutely ridiculous.
And way more common.
Yeah.
To be the victim of government violence, whether it's cops or...
Right.
Yeah. No-knock raids to the wrong address and all kinds of stuff.
Way more common than a mass shooting.
Right.
Yep.
But people don't think that, and I don't know. That's why we do this show. That's one of the many reasons we do this show, is to have conversations about stuff like this, that we look at it and go, this is insane. It's asinine to believe that only government needs protection and everyone else should be completely defenseless against a government.
Yep. We're just trying to throw enough stuff up there on your mental shelf to make it collapse so that you get out of your cognitive dissonance.
And you should question it. You should question everything. And I know it's the most important election of your lifetime, and it's over now, and you either have the devil incarnate as your future president, or you have the savior as your president, depending on where you stand.
You trusted the plan these last 4 years.
Yeah, and you just need to take a step back and go, okay, why can't we just live free? And in the end, that's all it's going to be. It's going to be some level of tyranny. Whether it affects you more personally or less personally, it's going to be up to you to decide. But make no doubt that there will be tyranny involved, and this will be a continuation of the tyranny that came before it. And if history is any example, it will end more tyrannical than it was when it started.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything to celebrate, Monday may be the least tyrannical day for the next 4 years.
Because they'll be busy.
It'll just be more bad stuff. It'll be more. I don't have a lot of faith that Trump is really going to slash enough red tape to make a difference in my life. Maybe some things will be a little easier.
He claims that he's like a fan of Malay.
He does claim that, and
but he doesn't have the foundational understanding that Malay has. The why.
Yeah.
He just does things to be popular.
And that's I think the same with, and he's got some interesting people. I think the Musk and Vivek thing, it's a great idea. But will it actually pan out, and will there be anything to show? We're going to go to the phones where we have an unscreened caller from Connecticut. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I was too drunk to call in tonight, but I decided to call in anyway.
You did it.
But you did.
Yeah, you did.
Whoops. But anyway, so my plan was just to be like, oh, Bonnie, what did you say at that Ian thing where you did a talk? But,
I did talk. You're asking what I said at Ian's press conference? I could talk about it.
We'll talk about that when we come back. And I'm going to hold you on the line during this break. We'll be back with you, okay? 603-283-6160 is the number. This is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Well, let's say that the Chinese troops decide to come over here because the local governments here have asked them to come here and help out with things, to controlling traffic and stuff like that. Would you be all right with that? If you were polled, would you say you're cool and great?
It would depend on, no, I wouldn't like it, but it would also depend on the situation. If I had a group of radicals, say Christians, going around, terrorizing and bombing and killing other religious sects because they didn't believe in what they believe in, and we needed help. Yeah, I may at that point.
Now, what if
it's not like we have a group of people.
What if some of those Chinese troops by accident killed, say, your wife? How would you feel about those Chinese troops at that point?
I'm sure I would have a whole different opinion.
Yeah, I bet you would.
That's an honest answer.
You are an awesome caller.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm Sally Patterson with a look back at some of the week's top stories. US President Joe Biden gave his farewell speech to the nation this week. The outgoing president warned that an oligarchy is forming in the United States as he cautioned against the concentration of technology, power and wealth. This comes ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
He spent some of the speech trying to define his presidential legacy, speaking about some of his achievements like investment in infrastructure and fighting climate change. But also in a departure from that, he spent most of his speech trying to defend US democracy and talk about the importance of it and the importance of protecting it.
On Friday, President-elect Donald Trump announced his swearing-in ceremony will now take place indoors. The decision came in light of dangerously cold temperatures forecast for his inauguration address on Monday. It'll be the first indoor inauguration since 1985. Fire crews in Los Angeles worked tirelessly to put out several major fires ripping through California. Strong winds there hampered efforts to slow the spread of the blazes, with dozens of people killed and many others missing. Here's Tony Waterman.
When the winds kick up, these embers can travel for kilometers and kilometers, and the landscape now in Southern California is just so incredibly dry that all it takes is a single spark to start a new fire.
South Korean authorities arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol at his residence on Wednesday. Yoon was holed up there for weeks and faced questioning over his short-lived imposition of martial law last month. Rebecca Bunden reports.
He is South Korea's first president to be detained while in office. A South Korean court has rejected a petition which challenged Yoon's detention.
A 14-year prison sentence was handed down to Imran Khan, the jailed former Pakistani prime minister, over corruption charges. His wife was also given a 7-year sentence in the corruption case. Khan has been imprisoned since 2023 on charges which he alleges are politically motivated. Hira Mustafa has more.
The couple faces accusations of accepting land as a gift from a business tycoon in return for laundered money during Khan's time in office. The court has directed Imran Khan to pay $3,500 as a penalty, while his wife must pay $1,800. The leadership of Imran Khan's party criticizes the court's decision as politically motivated and vows to challenge the decision in the country's top court. The government welcomes the decision, stressing that the country's judiciary has upheld democratic principles.
That's your roundup of news making headlines this week. Sally Patterson reporting.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. We still got time. We can still take your call. You can set the subject. We do have one caller on the air, and I'm just spinning my wheels waiting till enough time builds up so that I can hit that dump button if I need to, and I don't suspect I'll need to. This
normally
caller's
I'd say
is Kadu?
Yeah, normally I'd say that he's trustworthy, but he did say he's drunk.
Right. So we want to make sure that we have the allocated amount of delay time built up should something slip, and these things happen. I've had to bleep myself on Free Talk Live before. I had to hit the dump button on myself.
I can't remember if I had to dump myself, but I've been dumped at least twice.
I've never been dumped, but I've started to curse and I hit the dump button just to make sure I didn't. Okay, we're good. Kadu, you still there?
Yeah, let's dump Bonnie. Why is he so insistent on the dump button? What does he think it's going to be? Anyway, so recently this great film director died, David Lynch. Have any of you heard of him?
Yes.
I've heard of him.
Yes.
I've seen his name, but I don't know who that is. It just rings
I know
a bell.
him most from Twin Peaks, and I loved that show.
Never seen it.
And also, Bonnie, the movie that I sent you recently on Twitter, which was called The Substance, that film director was heavily influenced by David Lynch, and she if you watch that movie, she borrows a lot of stuff that he does in his things. But
I want to watch it. I'm interested, but yeah,
A ridiculously good movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I really, really liked it.
I just think Demi Moore is really
have you seen The Substance?
cool.
Yes.
It was good, right?
I thought it was a great concept and did a really good job.
One thing I can't wrap my mind around is the fact that are you actually supposed to believe that younger actress is like, oh, hot and beautiful? Because she's not.
I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it is a. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Never gotten this answer. I'm well said.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, it's kind of complicated. It does take a leap of faith, but you understand that these are the same people.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm gonna agree with Bonnie that like that chick that was supposed to be the hottest chick ever, she's probably like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10.
She's not ugly at all.
She's not, but she's not what they're presenting her to be as like the hottest chick ever. But she's a good
like that every older woman
that,
should be like, no, I want to look like her. I just don't see it, but I've only seen little clips of it, and I don't even think I've watched an official trailer.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right in the sense that she's not like, wow, she's the hottest chick, whatever. But like, I think the actress does a good enough job that she conveys that she's supposed to be that, and it works well enough. But
and she's also dating this guy named Jack Antonoff, who's made some of the best music in the world, but then also made some Taylor Swift music. And everybody, like, in the Lana Del Rey sphere, fandom sphere, they love Jack Antonoff because he worked with her. And they talk about her. I can't remember her real name right now. It's like an older lady name. Usually like Meredith or something. But anyways, what all I was going to say about that was they always are like, oh, how could anybody be so beautiful? And legitimately, I feel like I'm missing something. It's not that she's hideous at all. She's just completely like run of the mill.
Yeah. She was like slightly above average, but I think she does a good job, a good enough job in the movie to convey that she's supposed to be the super hot chick, and it works well enough. And the movie is also a very good movie, and it was inspired. Even the director of the film, it's herself. I don't remember her name, but she says she's inspired by David Lynch. I just want to take a second to talk about David Lynch here. So one of his movies is The Elephant Man, which is about some kind of guy, I don't know, maybe like 100 years or something, some kind of freak who has a genetic deformity.
That's
and
mean.
His face is all messed up. I won't say effed up because that'll get me kicked off the radio.
He didn't say it.
Nope, I'm gonna dump him. He thought of saying it, so I have to. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, I didn't think you had to dump him.
I don't.
But his face. So anyway, The Elephant Man is a great movie, and I think it's decades old. But it's about this guy who's like a circus freak, and his face is all messed up, but it just shows that like his character is what makes him attractive, and that's the same as David Lynch film. But the David Lynch film, the guy who's just died, the famous film director, that I would recommend everyone see. David Lynch is known for eerie, creepy, weird, kind of mysterious, kind of strange movies. But one of his best movies is called The Straight Story, and it's a story of this guy going on his lawnmower because he doesn't have a driver's license in a desperate situation to visit his brother who has recently had a stroke or something. And he goes on this journey on a lawnmower to try to visit his brother. And it's kind of a normal movie, and it's surprising. It's even by David Lynch because it's not his normal style of like these creepy movies, but it's a very kind of inspiring. It's got a great message movie. It's called The Straight Story, and it's kind of a heartwarming. If you want to celebrate David Lynch's life and what he's done, I wasn't planning on that's the movie to do it.
And
sounds good.
Story.
I got to ask you, did you ever see Eraserhead? Because that was the first David Lynch movie I ever watched. That was the most screwed up.
Different than iPencil?
It is
Eraserhead?
It is. Eraserhead is unlike any movie you've ever seen.
I got to watch it again. That's the one where you got the alien baby crying, right?
Yeah, and the woman who lives in the woman who has like chipmunk cheeks, who lives in the radiator and sings this song that goes, "In heaven, everything's all right."
I love that song.
It is. It's one of those movies that if you watch it, it'll be in your head for weeks afterwards.
Yeah. There's like a making fun of scary movies movie called The Old Ladies in the Wall.
The only reason that I want to recommend The Straight Story to people is because The Straight Story, I think, is a movie that people could like even if they don't like David Lynch's movies.
Interesting. Yeah, he did some amazing stuff. Blue Velvet was a classic. He was just a talented director, and one of his later ones, Mulholland Drive. Did you see that one by any chance?
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty bad with plots in movies, and I get pretty easily confused because of probably like ADHD or something. That one, I think I lost the plot, but
yeah, it was more of a straightforward plot for a David Lynch film, and I was thinking, I like his more out there stuff. I mean, I like the ideas of Twin Peaks, and Eraserhead will be with me till the day I die because that movie will not leave my head.
Did you like Mulholland Drive?
It was a good film. But it was a bit twisty, but it wasn't really like, I think I watched that hoping it would be another Twin Peaks. It would be another something like that. And to me, Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet were more traditional, really good films. But they weren't really that really odd thing I was looking for. You know what I mean?
So what did you like most about Eraserhead, since you love that one so much?
I don't love it. It just never left my head. It was so weird. I had never been exposed to any movie that was just indescribable. Like up to that point, I could say, okay, this movie's about a bank robbery, or it's about a family. It's about a guy who lost his job. You watch Eraserhead and you go, I have no idea what I just watched. I mean, that's it. And that was an interesting film. But anyway. So we'll all be thinking David Lynch tonight. And
that's what I was going to do. I was going to Google if I've seen any movie by him. So
I haven't seen any of the movies that you guys talked about, and
Me either.
Tonight is the first night that I remember hearing the name David Lynch.
Okay.
I've heard his name. Oh, and I've definitely heard of Twin Peaks, but never seen it. There's one called Chacun Son Cinema. I feel like that's, I don't know. I've heard of Mulholland Drive, and I don't know what that's about or anything.
Yeah.
None of this looks familiar so far. Dune? Is that like the Dune?
David Lynch was the first one who did an adaptation of Dune. And I wasn't nuts about it. It wasn't bad, but I would say that one probably wasn't as true to the Dune novels as the latest ones. It was pretty close.
There's one called Rabbits.
Never saw that one.
Inland Empire.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Is the Dune novel better than the Dune movies?
I, just as a rule, tend to think that most novels are.
I would say yes.
I think I had like the idea that The Elephant Man was just like a TLC special.
Oh
like,
my God.
because I feel like I've heard of it, but did not know.
Hallmark movie.
I didn't know that. No, like this is a real man in Sri Lanka and we're following him. But I did not know it was a fictional movie or David Lynch, anything like that. I've heard of Twin Peaks, never seen it. Looks scary from the picture, so not interested.
Not scary, just weird and twisty, and yeah, it's just bizarre.
Weirdly enough,
she's just trying to make herself seem young, not knowing that Elephant Man is a movie.
That's not true. It says that his first feature film was Eraserhead. What weird way to start from what you've described.
Well, it definitely gets your name out there.
Never heard of Wild at Heart either. That's another one.
I've heard of that one. Don't remember it.
He has a short film called 6 Men Getting Sick 6 Times.
But listen, before anyone way to do it, look into David Lynch later, but before you look into David Lynch, watch this new movie called The Substance. The film director was heavily influenced by David Lynch. It was a really good movie. And then from there, after you watch The Substance, check out all David Lynch's stuff.
Good advice. Hey, Kadu, thank you so much for your call.
Thank you.
We're going to the phones where we've got David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Have you ever been an extra in one of David Lynch's movies?
No.
He's been an extra in movies.
I've been in a Twin Peaks restaurant.
Uh-oh. Is that one of those gentleman clubs? It's kind of like a Hooters?
Oh, they got to wear clothes, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's like Hooters. Yeah, well.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to wear clothes at Hooters. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to wear clothes at Hooters.
But maybe Hooters isn't a gentleman's club. Maybe I was wrong about that, but I don't know.
Only if you work there.
Wait, what?
Like, I've gone to Hooters restaurants completely naked. Nobody said a thing, so.
If you work there,
if you work there, you do have to wear the uniform.
And you didn't even wash your hands after your shift or whatever. I mean, whatever, during your shift. Because it wasn't during your shift.
They posted Chris's picture on their wall of shame of all the dudes that walk in there naked.
Really?
Next to David's.
Right, you and David are right next to each other.
No. Mine is. I got a mural. It's not just a glossy.
Somebody spent time painting it.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
He also has a short film called. Sorry, we're not talking about David Lynch anymore. But it says he also has a short film called Ant Head. It's like, oh, you try to do it again later in your career.
Did you ever see Eraserhead, David?
I never saw the whole thing. I did at one point, however many years ago, when hearing people like you talk about Eraserhead, do a search on it, and then look at excerpts, and I couldn't make heads or tails out of it.
Good. If you watch it, you'll have the same experience where you'll sit back and go, what did I just watch?
And Kadu will be like, man, I'm really bad at keeping track of plots. It's probably because I have ADHD and not because I'm drunk.
Yeah, couldn't have anything to do with the alcohol.
God forbid.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, in that case, I won't watch it because I hate movies where I can't use the word on the radio. So let's see, what can I say that will, the one that's it's MF, but not the usual MF. It's a mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a twist, too twisty.
Yeah, it I mean, it literally. I actually got up and walked out of a movie one time because I was watching the movie, and it's like they were talking, doing whatever, and a moment later, it was like it was completely unrelated to what just happened, and it was your mind, my mind couldn't process it, and it was like, I got to get out of here.
Do you remember the movie?
No, I intentionally forgot it.
You just like completely blocked out. I will never.
Yeah. So who was the hot chick or the not so hot chick or semi hot chick that you were? I missed the name of who you're talking about.
Margaret Qualley, I think that's who you were.
Oh yeah, Margaret. I was like, she's like an older lady's name, probably because that is my grandma's name.
Okay.
And the nickname for Margaret is Peggy. Explain that.
Maybe she's into kinky stuff.
No, I'm saying like not her specifically, but the nickname for Margaret is Peggy, and we're not even like Mexico. They have like, you know, their nicknames are just like the
like
nickname.
Chewy.
Yeah.
Like Chewy for Jesus.
Oh, is that true? Chewy is Jesus? Well, it's like, I know it's like Pepe is Jose. So like the nickname for Jose is Pepe. I think I'm right on that.
Okay.
I could be mixing it with like Juan or something. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. I guess we have like Richard's nickname is Dick, and that's weird, you know? So why is the nickname for Margaret Peggy? Makes no sense.
No, it seems like it should be Maggie or something, but not Peggy.
I always wondered about Chuck.
Chuck and Charlie, yeah, I've wondered about
Charles,
that one too.
Charles, I mean,
even
how do you get
Bill
Chuck
and
from
Williams.
Charles?
Like, I understand Will and William, but why Bill and William?
I was talking to one of our customers who is from New York, and she was telling me about how she had some conversations with Chuck D of Public Enemy, and I was like, okay, that's random.
And that's a rap group, right?
Yeah.
You were telling me this the other day.
I've been listening to Public Enemy, and my wife is going nuts.
Are they boom bap hip hop?
I don't know
whatever
what
that means. That's a call back to the first hour for listeners that don't care.
Right.
What was that? Oops.
Fight the power.
Fight the power?
Fight the power.
Something David's doesn't know anything about.
Never have, man. I'm down with the power. I never fight the power, man. Why would I do that?
Down with the power.
So Peggy is a nickname for Margaret. Both names are feminine and mean pearl.
So just because of that, I'd much rather be named Pearl than Margaret or Peggy Hill.
She is the actress who there's a lot of prosthetics involved in this. There's a lot of the movie is described as it's horror, but it's specifically body horror, which is kind of a disturbing subgenre.
Yeah,
for me, but it was a really good film. Margaret Qualley. Okay, spoiler alert. If you want to see Substance, don't listen.
I do, but I don't mind
now.
Substance. I mean, I don't mind spoilers. Just don't spoil like everything. You're not going to, are you?
No. I'm just at a very high level. Who's the main character?
Demi Moore?
Demi Moore is an aging
starlet.
Star on a TV program, and she is at the point in her life where she just wishes she had more time. She wishes she wasn't at that age when TV producers and directors are trying to get her out.
Kind of like Nancy from King of the Hill.
And she is presented with the opportunity to live her life as a much younger version of herself. She'll still be herself. She'll be a much younger version. And Margaret Qualley plays the much younger version of Demi Moore. So that's.
And Demi Moore is from New Mexico.
Oh.
Really?
Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
She married Ashton Kutcher for a while.
After David from New Mexico refused her advances.
That's right.
I know how that goes.
Yeah, not my type.
So apparently the Margaret thing was it was Margaret, and then they is Meggie is short for Margaret, and then they shorten that to Meg, and then they swap that for Peg, and then Peggy.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Margaret, Mag, Peg, Peggy. Okay. I was like, if they both mean Pearl.
Wait a minute. So I was going to read that to you. So, see, Margaret, a name with Germanic origins where Margarta means pearl in Old Greek. Peggy, a diminutive form of Margaret that originated in the late Middle Ages. It is derived from Meggie, which is the shortened version of Margaret.
But still, it's like nobody calls me like Nani instead of Bonnie. Like, just change one letter.
Yeah, it is weird because you could be Will or you can be Bill, and you can be William, but you can't be Billiam.
Yeah.
I like Billiam.
Yeah.
Sounds like billion.
When I was a kid, meaning like junior high school, middle school, we called my best friend, or one of my best friends, we called his little baby brother, I mean, he was like a toddler, we would call him Billiam.
Billiam, nice.
Yeah.
I like the ring.
I always joked that I was gonna name a son HJ, but I was gonna spell it AYTCHJAY.
That's very Elon Musk of you.
There are so many like 2 letters that work, and people are like, yeah, like I had a neighbor named KJ, works. JR kind of works. I feel like I've seen lots of them. But then it's like HJ, that nobody walks around with that. Okay, like DJ is one that
I
works.
had a great grandfather HT. That one kind of works.
Yeah, I get that.
JT is another one people give or get or whatever.
All my relatives had, like, if they had a bad name, they just went and, like, my grandfather's name was Omar, and he just went by Dutch.
What's wrong with Omar? Like, oh, that's a bad name. We're all supposed to be like, oh, yeah,
no,
cringing.
Everybody just, around the turn of the century, everybody just call him Dutch. So he was Dutch.
Like, Ian's initials don't work. Like, imagine if he was like, call me IF. Like, that doesn't work.
If?
My initials are not BFF. That's awesome.
That's funny.
That's awesome. It used to be BK, and everybody would be like, BK, have it your way, Burger King. Like Burger King. Stupid.
Oh, God.
BK is also, I think BK is also the initials on, as a male, I think BK is our initials on those little mats you see in the bottom of urinals.
Ew. That's horrible. I wonder how many people have thought of me while peeing.
The guy was in the army with.
Bonnie. They not only thought of you, they got to.
Don't even.
What? No, don't.
I was in the army with a guy who tended to exaggerate a lot, and his last name was Sloan.
And those are the toilets.
Yeah, and we were in the restroom in separate, like, urinals, and he's like, my granddaddy, he invented the Sloan toilet.
Yeah, I'd be like, you're
the
lying.
Sloan urinal. I'm like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Just absolutely did not, but he swore up and down.
He's sitting in the toilet. I swear to God.
Toilet. Yep,
stupid.
He invented the urinal. I'm like, yeah, okay.
My granddaddy. That's so stupid. I just, like, don't even need to be told that he was, like, commonly a liar. It just sounds like such. It's like he's just sitting there looking at it, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna do this again, like I do to other people that are pooping at the same time as me. Like,
what can I brag about? There's nothing in here except for urinals and toilet cakes.
I don't like people that lie for, like, you can't even figure out what they would gain from such a lie. It's like the worst thing.
That was one of them. I was just like
you were going to be like, whoa, dude, wow.
I've got to start telling. Let's go tell girls. I mean, they're going to be so impressed that your family.
Finish what you're doing in there.
Right. David, thank you for the call, man.
Good night.
And that's
Good
it
night.
for us tonight on Free Talk Live. We thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow night with a new show. Won't be me, but it'll be somebody, because we do this all the time. Peace. This is Free Talk Live.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring Simon to the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait
on the counter. Now.
Wait a minute.
Road.